I offered. He's always taking care of Stop being funny.
Red feeds are free. Minute warning.
That's the point. Or the shoe.
The 77th Annual Convention of the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky is now in order. Good morning, all. I am Angela Henderson, your interim, and I'm so glad you are here today. First, I would like to call Lonnie Swafford up, who is going to do our invocation. You can choose either one. It's one big one.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we are truly grateful to be here today, to be a part of this wonderful organization to promote the independence of the blind. May we continue to grow and learn. Thank you so much for our leadership, our board of directors and members who made this possible. And all these things we pray, and everyone said together. Amen.
Thank you, Lonnie. Sandra Williams is now going to sing the national anthem.
Is there a flag anywhere in the room?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed as the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, but the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave through the night, but our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
That was beautiful, Sandra. Thank you. Emma and McKinney, can you please come to the podium to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Yes, sorry, I should have said that. Stay standing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Karen Main is now going to lead us in our belief statement, which, if you need to follow along, there's a Braille copy on your table. There's 2 Braille copies on your table, and in the last page of your agenda is also the belief statement, which is what we used to call our 1-minute message. as well as the NFB pledge is there as well. Karen, you got here? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I went up and turned it down, but people were complaining they couldn't hear whenever regular talk. So I already turned it.
Can everyone hear me? Oh, is this the microphone? No, that's the gavel. Oh, good. There he is. Okay. Hello. All right. My paper's upside down. All right. We advance the lives of our members and all blind people in the United States. The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. Our collective power, determination, and diversity achieve the aspirations of all blind people. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
Some of you may have noticed that there were 2 new additional lines added to that, which has been most recently added. Just wanted to point that out. Daniel Burton is going to lead us in our NFB pledge, and I wanted to let you all know that this year we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of this pledge, which I think is pretty cool. All right.
Okay, I see it now. Okay. I pledge to participate actively in the efforts of the National Federation of the Blind to achieve equality, opportunity, and security for the blind, to support the policies and programs of the Federation, and to abide by its Constitution.
Thank you all. I'm now going to introduce our national representative, Miss Marilyn Green. She is a national board member and the president of the National Federation of the Blind of Illinois. Let's please give her a big hand. Yeah.
I hear myself. Trying to get to the mic. Okay. Oh. Okay, there we go. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, President Henderson, for introducing me. As your president mentioned, my name is Marilyn Green. I'm honored to serve as the president of the National Federation of the Blind of Illinois. And I was elected to our national board last year in 2023. So this convention is my first in-person national rep assignment. So later on, I'm on the agenda to give the report to talk to you all about the programs of the National Federation of the Blind and how you can get more involved. But right now it's just my time to do a little short introduction. So as I said, you all are my first assignment. So far, I've met a lot of really great people. There's a lot of great energy within this affiliate. So I'm very happy to be a part of your convention. I'm right over the border in Illinois. So this is my first time in Kentucky. So loving the fried chicken and the biscuits. Not really a gravy fan, but yeah. I knew I got closer south when they mentioned that you want gravy on your biscuits. So I was actually elected. I just was elected to serve my 3rd term for the National Federation of the Blind of Illinois. We just had, thank you. We just had our convention 2 weeks ago. in a western suburb of Chicago called Naperville. So I welcome you all to join us next year, unless your convention conflicts. And then, if it conflicts, just come on over. We'll merge. Our convention is going to be the weekend of October 17th in Naperville, Illinois, like you all have here. We have a great relationship with our convention hotel back over there. So when I first joined, we had been with them for about 7 years straight, kind of took a break to kind of change things up. And then, of course, we all know what happened in 2020. So we were away from them for a few years, and then we went back in 2022. So definitely come on over and enjoy some of the hospitality of Illinois if you're so inclined. We're a very welcoming group of people. We like to have fun, like you all were decorating canes and costumes. We do what we call IAPS Idol, which is one of our student fundraisers. And it's just like an open mic. You can sing, you can dance. Patty Chang and her husband Francisco, they like to dance. So someone will audio describe the dancing for us sometimes. And then there's the battle of the chapters. I got to talk to my affiliate board. We lost this year. We were almost at that trifecta. We had almost won 3 years in a row. And then the dream died with the dream thing. So, but our enlarged chapter 1. So it's just a really great opportunity to network and, have a lot of great fun. So you all who have been with us for a while might know that I was recently appointed as the PAC chair for our national organization. So if you were at National Convention this year, or if you were on Zoom, you heard me singing. And I'm going to sing right now, and then I'm going to let you all go, because you'll hear more about this throughout the weekend, because I see this on your agenda, and I'll talk about it during the national report. But before I leave, I cannot not sing this song. I will not do it as well as Miss Sandra over there, but if you don't know the song, you'll feel it in the energy. Get on the PAC plan, sign up today. We need your contributions right away. Funding our movement, it must be done, so all our battles can be won. Thank you, Kentucky.
It is Mr. Todd Stevens.
Claims every year that he does not want a door prize.
I'm gonna draw again. This time, not quite so much money. Well, anyway, this $10 in cash. This is going to Miss Danielle.
Samantha Sinclair, do you mind to come on up? Our next speaker is a member of our at-large chapter, and this is her first convention. We are so pleased to have her with us. She is going to speak about her life as an author. She is a self-published author. The theme of our convention is going for the gold, building your toolkit to live the life you want. And she's going to discuss the toolkit she uses to build her life as a blind author. Please welcome her.
I appreciate being asked to do this today. And like she said, this is my first convention, and I really enjoyed being here last night and today. So my name is Samantha Sinclair, and I am from Russell County. And I was just blessed last week to publish my 14th book. Yeah, thank you. It has been an incredible journey to get here. So it started out, I was diagnosed with let me try that again. Optic nerve hypoplasia when I was 3 months old. They originally thought I had tumors behind my eyes, but thank God that was not the case. So I started reading Braille when I was 3. So it's really, I mean, I guess print is second nature to me because I can see out of my right eye. I can look around and see there's people, but I can't make you all out, if that makes sense. My left eye is mainly light and shadows, and I've noticed I'm losing vision in that left eye, which is okay. So throughout school, I enjoyed writing short stories in Braille. I was the kid, you told me to write 1 page, I would write a page and a half or 2. Laura can tell you that. She had to put print on my stuff. So that developed into an interest in when I was a teenager. I was dealing with a lot, and that's been the way that I've coped with stuff is writing and singing. And so I had this really strong desire to write a novel. So from early teens on, I tried and failed, tried and failed. I would get so far. And I finally realized I'm doing this of myself and not with the leading of God. So when I was 19 or 20, somewhere in there, I gave it to the Lord, maybe 21. And I said, Lord, if you want me to write, you give me the plot, you give me the story line and, the title and all this, and I'll do it. And here we are, 14 books later. And the neat thing that, I love writing about, I do Christian fiction, and I love emergency services. My desire is to be a 911 dispatcher. And unfortunately, no one has saw fit to give me an opportunity yet, and we all know why in this room. So it's important to me to include emergency services in my books, but also disability is a big thing. The God's Silver Lining book series focuses on so many things, but childhood visual impairment and adult visual impairment is really focused on in that series. Also, I just released a book of 3 short stories, and the first one in that book series in the book there is about a visually impaired mother. So that I enjoyed writing that. I guess one of the hardest things that I've had to learn being an author, as far as there's been quite a few things, but as far as with the visual impairment standpoint, would be editing. Editing is a challenge because I can't look at the screen and say, oh, there's a red line. I have a mistake. So I physically go through with my arrow keys, read each line. If something sounds off, I fix it. I try to improve my editing skills, and I have, and it's helped in a lot of ways. But I'm not there yet. I'm working on it. And I guess another thing too, when I was using a laptop, I no longer use a laptop to write my books because for some reason a laptop wants to move your stuff around in the document. So that was a challenge, finding where my computer had moved a specific sentence to. It was rather frustrating. So, and I get the question a lot, how do you write your books? Do you use a Braille writer? Anybody that uses a Braille writer can laugh at that question because my wrist would be so sore. So no, it's like, no, I use a computer. Well, how do you use a computer? Okay, seriously? Let's talk about that. No, I know the keyboard. So, you get some interesting questions. You all know that. But I think, the thing that, I guess one of the big things that it's helped me to improve me as a person with writing is, I've learned to go with it because, in life, we have to, you know, how it is. Transportation is hard. You know, so we all make mistakes. So all this ties in with me being an author because I've had to go back so many times and fix, excuse me, and fix something. And I think, man, I should have knew that, or you know, I need to stay out of the way of this story. But and I pull that into life, you know, just let it roll, just go with it, and it'll end up how it's supposed to. But it's hard because we as humans want to control. We can't. So you know, just have faith and go with it. But with my visual impairment, the way that I have learned to live with it is this: early 20s. I'm 28 now, and I'm thankful that, you know, I say I'm thankful God's teaching me stuff young because it's helped me in so many ways. But I one day was alone in my room. I was praying, and the Lord told me, He made me a promise that one day I'll see perfectly. And I said, you know, okay, that's a promise from my Father. If that's on this earth or if that's in heaven, I can live with that. I'm satisfied with that. So that is how I have came to terms with my visual impairment. And again, that's helped me in so many areas of life because there's so much we can't control. So, you know, whether that be in your personal life, in your career, and frustrations with how people who are not familiar with visual impairment test your patience. You know, it'll be okay. And I admire parents who are visually impaired. I admire you all because I'm sure that's a challenge. I have nieces and nephews, and I have helped my sister take care of them since they were babies. So, you know, I'm used to doing that. And I was telling Angela about this. She knows what I'm going to say. I had an incident where someone told me that I didn't need to be babysitting that many children because if a social worker was called, social services would take those kids away. Well, yeah, yeah, and I speak my mind, so I was thinking I better walk away from this person right now. But I told her, I said, look, they're visually impaired parents, so yeah, and again, I admire you all. And so, you know, I told her, I was like, there's visually impaired parents. I said, I took care of these kids since they were little. They're just like my own, you know. And so I guess I say all that to say, just stand up, stay strong. You're not alone. We're all together. And I'm thankful I found the NFB because I'm glad to find a community. So thank you all for having me. And I hope to come back next year. Thank you.
Door prize? Yes. Yeah. All right. I have a interesting looking cup holder to place on a car seat or I don't know, whatever, and some university. Guess who? Louisville. Well, no. And they, wow. Oh no. Really? Oh, this is funny. This goes to Tyler Farr.
Wonderful. Thank you, Samantha. There was a slight change. There was a slight change to our agenda. Next up was supposed to be Dave Wilkinson. However, he is in California. He's joining us virtually. But right now he is in the middle of running a leg of a race. So he's actually going to speak to us at 10. So I'm going to flip-flop some items on our agenda and ask Ms. Laura Stevens to come up and talk about our Bell program from this summer. I will let you know it was supposed to be one of our Bell students actually up here talking as well, but unfortunately he was in the hospital last night. So I have not spoke to his mother yet this morning, but I'm going to call and check on him at lunch. So I'll let you all know how he's doing. Yes, Mr. Bradley. Yeah, oh, look at our here, come on up. All right. Thank you, Angela. I want to just tell a little bit about our Bell Academy. If there's anybody here who is not familiar with it, we began our Bell Academy in Kentucky about 8 years ago. Bell stands for Braille Enrichment for Literacy and Learning. And this is a program that we do in the summer. It's actually done, led through our national office, and the state affiliates some of the state affiliates run programs within each state. And we started, like I said, we started 8 years ago. And for a while, we hosted our program at American Printing House for the Blind. And then they started doing construction and renovation. In the past 2 years, we took some time off for COVID, like everything took time off from COVID. But the last 2 years, we've had our program at the Kentucky School for the Blind. We've had as many as 6 students attend our Bell Academy. And what we do is we spend time, our volunteers work with our students. They range from age 4 to 12 approximately. And we spend time basically being mentors to these children. Many of these children do not necessarily interact with blind people on a daily basis. And we want to show them positive role models as blind people and to help educate families as well. I think lots of times parents don't necessarily know if they have a blind child, that can be devastating, and they don't know that their children can grow up to live typical lives like we all do. So I think it's been a great experience for us as well as our students. We spend time doing Braille. We do cooking. We've taken field trips. We've gone on the bus. We do different activities each year, and it's a great time for all of us. But McKenna Harrod is up here with me, and McKenna was our very first Bell student, the first year that we had a Bell Academy in Kentucky. McKenna was the one and only student, and this past year she graduated and became a volunteer. So we were really excited to have McKenna back with us, and she was a great help. Anything we needed, McKenna, can you do this? McKenna, can you help this student? So it was just really neat to see that progression for her to go from being, a young student to, she's working alongside the adults in the program. And I think that's really what we want. We want to bring our children in and to help them grow. And anyway, McKenna's up here. Which slide are you on, McKenna? There you are. Good. So McKenna, can you tell us some of your thoughts about being a student and then, going into being a volunteer?
One of the great things I learned about being from a student to a volunteer is just learning the different perspectives. I liked how when I was a student, I got to learn about Braille, and I got to learn how to do different things with my disability. But then when I was a volunteer, I got to learn how to teach others what I learned, and it was just really fun to teach others how I learned to do different things with my disability or my vision.
All right. Also, I have up here 2 of our volunteers. Karen Main is here, and Karen has volunteered for a couple of years at our Bell Academy. So I want her to say a few words. And Karen's had a great time doing Bell. So.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My first year, I was a little leery, I guess, because, you know, I don't know. I've never done it before, and I have never worked with blind children. I, you know, grew up with them, but I never taught them. So it was amazing. Last year, Bradley it was his first year, and he was a little afraid. I'm so sorry he's not here. And because he said, what do we do if something happens? And I said, well, we'll do what's necessary, whatever it might be. And he said, yeah, but you all are blind. How are you going to take care of us if there's a, you know? And I said, well, I have a son, and he'll be 40 in January. So, you know, and I didn't kill him. So I'm pretty sure that you're going to be just fine. And my favorite part this year, I was only able to do 2 days this year, but my favorite part about it was how much the kids had improved. I was in such awe at Bradley last year. He did okay, but he was not very confident in his Braille skills. He was worried about making mistakes more. He didn't write much because of that. But this year he wrote pages, and it was great. He's you know, and Anthony, oh my gosh, he's such a sweetheart, and it's just so fun. And we had 2 little ones this year, and they were introduced to Braille, and I'm hoping they'll learn it. So anyway, that was my Bell experience. It was amazing.
And now Ashley Swafford volunteered at the Bell Academy that we had this past summer, but it was her first time to volunteer, so I want her to say a few words about her experience.
So this was my first full year volunteering. I did volunteer probably when it was McKenna's first year. And so it was a different perspective, I believe, because we did go from having just one now to 6. And of course, 6 different personalities that you had to adjust to every day. 2 that were very, very hyper and kept me on my toes. One experience that, you know, I have found, it's not, I guess, enlightening because I never experienced it before, even though I worked at the Kentucky School for the Blind and I worked with their blind kids, but they've never had a full staff of individuals who are blind. They always had someone with sight, right? They never really, so they were learning from us. And one of the things that they kept doing was they would come to Miss Kathy or I because they said, well, you all have sight, you can help us. I said, no. I said, Miss Karen, Miss Laura, Miss Angela, Miss Sandra, they can help you just the same. So do not bypass them, because as you get older, you may get bypassed. And how is that going to make you feel? Are you not able to do it? And they said, well, yes. And I said, then adults you're going to be an adult one day, and this is going to be your life. What we're doing is teaching you how to live your best life, how to be independent. And from there on, every time they would say my name, they would, nope, and they'd say someone else's. I'm like, there you go, you got it. So great experience. I can't wait to do it next year.
All right, so I'm gonna my panel can stay up here with me as well, but I want to tell you about some of the activities that we did this year, and then give my buddies up here an opportunity to make some more comments, and then if you all have any questions, let you give you the opportunity to ask us some questions about our Bell Academy. We've done different things. Different years. We try to change up our programming because we have some students who have been multiple times, so we obviously don't want to do the same things every year. One of the activities that we did this year, and this was a new one, is we went downtown to the Kentucky Science Center in Bradley. Of course, we hate that he's not here. I know those of you who were here last year will remember him. His favorite word is Bradley, by the way. Y'all remember that? I think we got a pretty big kick out of that last year.
But we went to the science center, and Bradley wants to be a meteorologist. So they have a little area there where you can actually record yourself doing a weather report. And I mean, he was just like over the moon that he got to be a pretend meteorologist. It was very overwhelming. The place was loud and stimulating, but you know, as the kids got more comfortable, they were moving around and engaging with the different activities. So it's a good experience for the kids to go on a field trip and be with blind adults who were, you know, taking the leadership role and guiding them through the facility. We also, one thing that we like to do in our Bell Academy is we do lots of cooking activities. And we also do an event for the last day. You plan like a reception for the families. We bring the families in, and the kids make the food that we serve them, and that's like a neat thing because I think, you know, our blind children, you know, they don't really think about, well, they can make something. People are making things and giving those things to them. So this year, what we made is we did English muffin pizzas and we did fruit pizzas. And the kids had a great time. We divided them into groups and they all had their tasks. And, you know, the parents came in and the kids got to serve them. And then we did a little presentation. The kids talked about the things that they had done during the week and read one of their journal articles. So, you know, it was a great time for the families. Yes, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought up here. Angela's got to keep me on track. Anyway, we had guests from the Clever Center for the Blind in Cincinnati that came one day and did adapted sports activities with the kids. They did adapted tennis, an adapted yoga, and an aerobics workout with the kids. And the kids, I think, really enjoyed the tennis, like learning how to, because I guess the balls, you know, they learning how to hit the balls, they could hear them. And was it Bradley that was so excited, or was it when they finally, okay, was so excited when he actually hit the tennis ball. So I think it's good for the kids to know, you know, they can participate in sports activities. Because what I think it was Krishna that talked about going to sports things with his brother, but yet he wasn't able to participate, but to give them an opportunity to show that, you know, there are things you can participate in. You know, maybe they're a little different than what your siblings are doing, but it's still something that you can be a part of. I get to add to this panel, I guess. So this is the third, fourth, something like that, year I have been assisting with the Bell program. And for the past few years, even though Laura is our lead teacher, we have worked together to write our lesson plans and develop the curriculum. Oh, I do apologize. Can you hear me now? Sorry about that. I was just saying that Laura and I work together to develop our lesson plans and our curriculum, and then we sit down with our team of volunteers and go through everything that we are going to do throughout the week. We let it be known that even though, you know, Laura is the lead teacher and, you know, I was the coordinator, that everybody in our group, all of our volunteers, are awesome teachers to our students. They are learning from us as mentors. We are those blind adults in their lives that are teaching them that they can be independent, they can be successful, and that they can live the lives they want. As I think Karen mentioned, it was wonderful with our returning students seeing some of the growth that they had. Anthony was writing so fast on that one-handed braille writer. Like, he was just, it was blowing my mind because, one, he had to teach me how to use it, and then he was writing so fast. He was doing wonderful. His skills have just improved so much over the years. It was awesome seeing the growth in self-confidence in Bradley returning. Me and this
Mike are going to argue all day, I bet. It was amazing seeing Bradley's self-confidence improve. Last year, he was very hesitant, very reserved, very terrified of the fact that we were all blind adults taking care of the blind children. And this year, when we went to the Science Center, at first he said, Miss Angela, I really need to do human guide. I can't do this by myself. So, we talked through it. And initially, I let him do sighted guide with me, or human guide, sorry. But then by the end of that field trip, he was running from exhibit to exhibit. He was exploring. He was having a blast. Our two new little girls, for those of you that have been around for a while, Alicia Jones's little girls, they joined us this year, and one is in first grade, one is in preschool. They are adorable. And they were very newly introduced to Braille, so we got to introduce them to Braille for the first time. Anna Kane, yes. They were so excited. When the first day when we were walking in, they were asking me questions about my cane, and I was explaining to them, its uses. And one of the girls, I can't remember which one, asked, "Do I get one?" "Of course you do." So the first day we put them under learning shades, they were like, "Wait, we have to do what?" But then they were exploring those hallways, those classrooms, that campus. They were doing so good. It was such an amazing thing to witness, that epiphany moment for them. They'll probably end up being dual media users, so they may not use Braille full time, but I think it was still awesome that they had that introduction. And they were taking to the shape of the Braille cell, the dots, and the first few letters of the alphabet. They were taking to it really quickly. They were doing wonderful, and it was just so, just to see their excitement and joy for learning. So yeah, I've talked about, Krishna, our friend Krishna. He's also a returning student, and he actually he aged out this year. And at the parents' event, oh no, it makes me sad too. The parents' event, he was talking about how important our Bell program is and how much he got from it. And he had asked if we could do a program for older students. So I thought that was awesome. Yeah, he actually went home every day and wrote a journal article, basically, telling me everything that we did at Bell that day and his experiences of it. It was pretty awesome. After the first day cooking activities, he came back the next day, and every day after that, telling us, exactly what he went home and made himself for lunch the next day. Because he went home and told his mom and dad, "I can do this, and I don't need your help." And he did. He did that every single day. We were just so proud of him. One of the funniest moments was when I taught Krishna and Bradley how to sweep the floor. Because we had done a really messy activity in which we made cloud dough. For those of you that don't know, it involves hair conditioner and cornstarch. So you can imagine the mess. So one of the boys, I again don't remember which one, asked how we were going to clean the mess up. Well, I got a broom, I got a dustpan. I said, "Now take off your shoes and socks." They're like, "Excuse me? You want me to do what?" So I had them take off their shoes and socks and taught them, how we feel the ground through our feet to know where the stuff is on the floor to be able to sweep it up. And they were just so amazed. When Krishna's dad walked in that day, he said, "Dad, I swept the floor without shoes on." Ultimately, Bell is it's a wonderful program. And, we've seen through McKenna and our other returning students how valuable our program is. And the fact that we are helping to shape these kids and help them to live the life they want and to be successful and realize they can do it. I'm sorry, I can keep rambling about children. It's the teacher in me. Laura, did you have anything else?
We're just going to, does anybody have any questions about Bell that you want to ask any of our panelists up here?
Just call your name out.
Or call out the question.
Anything about the program, how it's done. If you have any suggestions, that'd be great.
Right. We're up for suggestions, ideas.
How can we find out more about what you all are doing and different ways of getting involved?
Okay.
Our Facebook, our social media pages, our registers.
Okay. Right. Yeah. You could Facebook, the other social media listservs, NFB Newsline.
Contact your chapter president.
Right. Angela's the chapter president. You give her a call, find out what's going on. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is a funny story. Miss Kathy wants me to tell you the story, and I will, and you guys can laugh, but it just, and it was a great experience for the students because they had to see that people make mistakes and we can problem solve them. This particular year, we went on a field trip to McDonald's and we rode the city bus. And Danielle's over there laughing. So we were at American Printing House for the Blind that year. We go out, cross the street, catch the bus. Well, there happens to be 2 bus routes that go down Frankfurt Avenue. And we're all lined up. We're getting ready to get on the bus. We had our adults in the front, adults in the back, and we were each paired up with a student. And we get on the bus. We start down the street, and all of a sudden we realize we're not on the right bus. And yeah, right. And the driver, those of us in the back of the line assumed that the person in the front had made sure we were getting on the right bus. So then the kids were panicking and Miss Laura, are we not going to McDonald's? Like, it's fine, we're going to McDonald's. But the bus that we were supposed to be on was right behind us. So it worked out. The bus driver radioed that bus and they stopped and we got off and got on the right bus and we made it to McDonald's. But it was a good experience for the children to know people make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. And once when we do that, we can correct those mistakes and it can work out okay. So, and of course, we're asking the first person, why didn't you make sure we were getting on the right bus? But, everything kind of happens for a reason. And I think we all, we learn from those mistakes that we make and we just keep moving forward. And it ended up being something we could laugh about, but, and it worked out okay. And the kids could see that. And they still got to go get their Happy Meal. So. Absolutely, Mary. I would love for you to come and make a comment. So Mary is McKenna's mother. So, she's kind of been a part of this from the beginning as well. So she's going to come and tell you about her experience as a mom of a Bell student.
Hello, everyone. So I just wanted to comment. So I am in the blind world, as we call it, the blind culture. I've been raised, known you all for many, many years. But when you are a parent, especially of a strong-willed child, I know nothing, right? It has been invaluable to me as a parent of a blind child to have another community, others in the community come together where, she will listen to others because she's not mom. Because I can't do this on my own. We can't, as parents, we need resources. We need a community. That old adage, it takes a village. It truly does. And I was thrilled to have Belle come on board in Kentucky. And of course, she was the first. And I said, please, someone help me. And she will not listen to me. She's wonderful, but she is a strong-willed child and it will serve her well. But it's just been wonderful for me to have a place where I can say, here, go listen to them. They know if you don't listen to me. And she has grown. Braille, I love Braille. Braille is important. Braille will always be around. I wish I would have learned it a lot earlier and was strongly encouraged more to use it. I still know it. I still use it. Just wanted that for McKenna, and so I just wanted to. I truly love the Bell program. I love what you all do. It's just something I hope to continue to see. I love to see how it's grown. My daughter was one of the ones that went with them on the McDonald's route. Have I taken the wrong bus many times? Yes. So, and you have to problem solve and figure it out. And that was a real life experience for them. So, but thank you all on the Bell Academy, everybody who volunteers, who puts that hard work in. I know it's not easy, but from a parent, I truly, truly, truly appreciate everything that you all have taught McKenna, and continue to do so as her peers and mentors. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Yes.
You're waiting here today, but I heard you back. I was wondering, you just extend that to make it longer. I think it's important to show how mature you're grasping from the first day, thinking that blind people aren't able to take care of it. The maturation process at the very end of the program. Someone speak on that?
I will let Laura speak on that. I just wanted to quickly make sure that everyone understood the information that was given out. If you would like to volunteer for Bell, please reach out to myself, Ashley Swafford, or you will find the information on the Facebook pages and the listserv and newsline. As we approach that time, we do reach out and we like to have people volunteer. We have readers that come in and read to the kiddos. So if that's something that you would like to do, please contact us. We would love to have you be a part of this wonderful program.
Hi, this is Karen Main again. Can everybody hear me? I just had a quick statement on what Mary said about learning Braille sooner. I know a person who came to KSB with RP, as we all know, that's a degenerative eye disease, and they asked him if he would like to learn Braille. He shouldn't have had a choice, in my opinion. He was going to be blind eventually, and he should have had to learn Braille whether he really wanted to or not. And I just think that every blind individual needs to learn Braille. So that's all I wanted to say.
So Todd wanted me to talk a little bit more about, the kids learning that we as blind adults can take care of them. And, I think that is what's so important for us as blind, because I think sometimes we even question ourselves. Well, can we do that? Can we be independent? And I think it's so good for our Bell kids to see us as blind adults. And this was the first year. Bradley's attended Bell for 2 years. In the first year, he really did start out that first day. Well, what if there's a fire alarm? What are you going to do? You're blind. You all are blind. How are you going to take care of me? And honestly, by the end of the week, that child we had transformed his thought process about how a blind adult could take care of a blind child. And I think that's the thing that we all need to do, is we need to be confident within ourselves and our abilities. And I think that's one thing that kind of happens with the National Federation of the Blind. I think we as a group show that support to one another, and we have opportunities. We give each other opportunities to develop that sense of confidence in ourselves and our abilities. Because I think often society kind of wants to tell us we can't do things. Well, you can't do that, you're blind. Well, how are you going to do that? You're blind. And I think, and for those of you who don't know, I taught for 27 years as a teacher of the blind and visually impaired. And for me as a teacher, I wanted to be that role model for my students to show them that, yes, you may be blind, but yes, you can do the things you want. You can learn to live the life you want. And I think that's what Bell Academy does. And it makes me feel good as a teacher, to know that I'm able to do that. And for those of you who don't know, Angela and Danielle were both my students. So I've kind of pulled them along with me in this journey through, with the National Federation of the Blind. And, that makes me happy. And, sorry, getting a little emotional. Anyway, if anybody has any questions about Bill, they can see me, they can see Angela. And we're looking forward to next year and doing Bell Academy again. And y'all can help us recruit some new students. We had kids that are aging out, and we need to pull some younger kids in that we can mentor, because that's really kind of what it's all about, mentoring these kids. So thank you. Thank you, Laura, and the rest of the panel. Dave Wilkinson is going to be joining us via Zoom. He is currently running a race. This morning he was running a leg of that race, I do believe. So is our Zoom connected, Ben?
I think so.
All right. Our Dave's is presenting on his life as a blind athlete and the toolkit he uses to be successful. Do I turn off this mic so it'll go through the other?
We'll give it a shot. Can you hear us?
Is he coming through, Ben? Do we got it?
I don't think you can hear us.
Oh, he can't hear us at the moment.
Move the computer to the front.
Ben, would it be easier to move the computer to the front to the microphone?
We can give it a shot, see how that works.
Technical difficulties, bear with me.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Oh my gosh. I was trying to help. I'm sorry, guys. Text him and let him know I'm calling.
Madam President, yes. Can we do a still break while you're working? Great. Can we do a fifth break?
Yeah.
All right, let's get our fifth break before.
Yeah. Now.
No. So,
I'm not sure.
right, we have our fifth break person with us. Well.
All right, I have Toby here. Toby, can you tell everybody to stand up?
Stand up.
We're gonna do some Toby says, right? All right. So Toby says what? What do you want him to do?
Jump up and down.
Toby says jump up and down. They're still jumping, Toby. Should we have them stop? Yeah. Toby says stop. All right, Toby. Should we have them touch their toes?
Yes. Bend over, touch your toes.
What else would you like them to do? How about they reach to the sky?
Reach to the sky.
So we're feeling it, right? All right, we're gonna do one more thing, okay? What do you think it should be?
Touch your toes.
Touch your toes again? Oh my goodness! Toby, it doesn't look like we've got very flexible people in the audience today. It doesn't.
Thank you.
Thank you for playing what Toby says. All right, thank you guys for being patient while we worked out technical difficulties. Wouldn't be a convention if something wasn't going crazy, right? So I have Dave Wilkinson on my phone, and I'm going to do my best to hold it up to the mic so you all can hear. And then we have questions at the end. I will just repeat those so he can hear you all. All right, Dave, you are on speaker, and I'm going to hold it up to the mic. So whenever you are ready.
All right, good morning. Excellent. Because you answered back, I know you can hear me. So it was sort of a test. In fairness, technical difficulties were bound to happen with this. I'm speaking to you from the deserts in California in the middle of doing a 24-hour race as part of a relay too. And so the other relay partner at the moment. And so while I'm resting, I'm doing this presentation. Thank you all for being incredibly patient with me this morning. And a huge thanks to Todd and to the NFB's Kentucky Planning Committee for offering me the opportunity to be here and speak to you this morning. It's an honor and a privilege to get to come back, and I really always look forward to this. So thank you all very much. As I was saying at the beginning of this, I'm in the middle of a 24-hour race. I'm 14 hours into it. It ends at 5 o'clock this afternoon Pacific time. Our team is currently done, meaning me, my bike, and my relay partner. We've done about 300 miles at this point. So we'll get over 400 miles before the day is done.
Wow.
Yeah. Your convention theme is a wonderful theme, considering the Olympics and everything else that's happening this year. And it has a lot more meaning than I think people realize. Your convention theme, going for the gold, has, from an athletic standpoint, an interest to me because 22 years ago, I tried to become a Paralympic cross-country skier. But looking at it more broadly, the most important word in that theme is going. And I have going in all caps, underlined, italicized, bolded, add any other emphasis that you want. Going means that you are not standing by and waiting for something to happen. You are intentionally starting and striving towards something that for you is as precious and valuable as gold. However, before drifting into way too motivational speak, let's have a reality check. That's okay. The good stuff will come later. Gold is literally and metaphorically in many of our dreams, hopes, and aspirations. It's shiny, it's rare, and it's often elusive and incredibly hard to get. Your quest for gold will suffer setbacks, bad breaks, unanticipated barriers, exhaustion, frustration, and maybe even other, consciously or unconsciously, obstructing your goals. No one said this was going to be easy. But after all, you're going for gold. As many of you know, a couple months ago, I tried to become the first, and maybe many of you don't know. And so for those of you who do, just sit through the explanation. And for those of you who don't, here we go. I tried to become the first blind tandem cyclist to complete, as a solo project, Race Across America. Race Across America is a 3,000-mile cycling race that goes through, 13, 14 states, and you have 12 days to finish the thing. The race begins in Southern California. Course goes through the deserts of California and Arizona, goes through the Rocky Mountains, across the Continental Divide, into the plains of Kansas, through the Appalachians, and then in the east, and you finish up in Atlantic City, New Jersey. You need to ride well in excess of 250 miles per day to have a chance of finishing this thing. Okay. Usually around 3 hours a day. Meals, which are really pretty much just nutrition designed to keep you moving forward, are almost always consumed while you're riding on the bike, and they're handed off to you while you're moving as well. Weather can be anything from over 121 degrees in the Arizona desert. We looked at a thermometer, that's a real reading. And when we were going through the Rockies, there was still snow on the ground. And temperatures at night were in the 30s. You get high winds when you're going through Kansas. You get thunderstorms anytime. You get the high humidity of the east. So pretty much you can expect absolutely anything to happen. It begs the question, why would anyone do this? And the answer is simply because this was my goal. Preparations for Race Across America included riding more than 14,000 miles over an 18-month period leading up to the race. I rode 6 days a week. I recruited sponsors to help defray some of the prohibitive costs of this. I had an incredible crew of 8, one of whom is sitting next to me in the car at the moment, my younger sister, who's crewing me on this race as well. The crew took exquisite care of me and my tandem pilot, Jim. And speaking of Jim, he's a world-class cyclist who had finished Race Across America as a solo project twice before. For close to 2 years, this race was everything that I thought about before my feet hit the floor, and it was about the last thing that I thought about when I went to bed at night. This race was nothing short of a second full-time job. And at times, it probably became my primary job at the detriment to my paying job, which is hopefully they'll never find out about. However, after 1,200 miles at the base of an innocuous hill outside of Trinidad, Colorado, my goal was gone. I had absolutely nothing left to give. I was functioning on maybe 10 to 12 hours of sleep since the race began. I couldn't understand basic commands, and when I did understand them, I couldn't fulfill them. I was a danger to me and to the safety of my pilot and my crew, and so I withdrew from Race Across America. I made it just over 1/3 of the way to my quest for gold. There's nothing quite as devastating as failure. But at the same time, failure can be a wise teacher. When you fail, listen and take heed to its lessons that are being proffered. Because if you do, you will become a more resilient fighter, and you will wear the scars of your previous attempts as a reminder of this moment. If you ignore these lessons, your failure may crush you. After returning home from Race Across America, I curled up into a ball, ate lots of junk food, and hoped that the world would just go away. All those hopes and dreams and years of planning were replaced with self-doubt, second guesses, and regrets about what might have been. My gold was gone, but it wasn't. About a month ago, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. About a month after I withdrew from Race Across America, a random person messaged me on Facebook saying something to the effect of, "Hey, Speedy, I've got an offer you can't refuse. Are you interested?" At first glance, I thought it was spam, and I almost dismissed it. I was kind of mad and not in a good frame of mind anyway. But it occurred to me that a spammer probably would not address me as Speedy. That just wasn't the type of things they would do. I could always block this person later, so I decided to take a chance and write back. Cale Klein is a military vet who was injured in a Humvee accident. When Cale is not at his paying job, Cale does endurance cycling events on a recumbent trike because of his injuries. And Cale had a dream. Cale wanted to assemble an 8-person team, all of whom have disabilities, to do Race Across America as a team event in 2025. This will be different from a solo event. We'll do short sprints and we won't do nearly as many miles, but you'll be going a lot faster because you're sprinting because you're riding a shorter period of time. A friend of Cale's, Ed, had participated in the Race Across America this past June. Ed also had to withdraw. But while Ed and I were both still in the race, we played leapfrog in the California and Arizona deserts. After the race, Cale reached out to Ed to help Ed with his grieving process. And Ed, through Cale, reached out to me. If you remember nothing else from our time together this morning, remember these few words. Unless you deliberately and actively choose otherwise, you are not alone. You do not have to be on your quest for gold by yourself. Others can and will help you if you let them. Also remember that failure doesn't mean you quit. It doesn't give you a license to throw up your hands and stop fighting. Failure means you learn and you try again. And the reason you try again is that you don't know if a dream is truly beyond your reach unless you throw absolutely everything you've got at it and let the chips fall where they may. Sometimes you might swing and miss, and that really, really hurts. But sometimes you swing and it works. And that sense of accomplishment and satisfaction is one of the greatest feelings you can get in your life. Look around this room. You were surrounded by people who can be part of your team. And at the same time, you can be part of theirs. We're going for the gold together. Whether your goal is independently traveling to the corner store and back, learning how to color coordinate clothes, or racing across America. Together, united, we are an unstoppable force. And that's what it takes when you're going for the gold. In closing, I'd like to do a little bit of an update on what I'm doing, and then we're going to drift into a short commercial. I'm doing Race Across America in 2025 as part of a team called Rusty Dogs of War that I was talking to you about earlier, that's made up of primarily military vets and then a couple of us who aren't, all of us having disabilities. I'll be able to ride across the entire country and ride different parts of the course across the entire country without having to do the whole thing. And I'll be able to take in different parts of the course. I'll be able to soak in knowledge from how this team is going to approach the race. And I can put that knowledge towards a solo attempt that I'm planning in 2026. If you remember a little bit ago, I was saying that you can reach out to others to help them achieve their goal. And so I have an offer for you where you can help Speedy Turtle. A company called InnoSearch, INNOSEARCH, is a sponsor of mine. And they've come up with really kind of an ingenious way to help you save money and help me fund some of my races. InnoSearch is an AI shopping assistant that can find the lowest prices by using algorithms going across I don't know how many sites on the internet. It's a bunch. InnoSearch is spelled INNOSEARCH.AI. So what's important with this is that if you sign up for an account at InnoSearch and you want to buy something, they find you the best price. You then use the promo code Speedy Turtle and you get $10 off of what was already the lowest price. And then InnoSearch donates $10 to help Speedy Turtle continue races and other endurance events across the country and hopefully the world. So you can help get you started with your holiday shopping. And at the same time, you will be helping me to achieve, to reach out for my goal. Thank you all again for the opportunity to speak to you this morning. I am happy to take questions. I would also be, if you run out of time here, you can always email me at dave@speedyturtle.net. We do have a Facebook page, Speedy Turtle Races Across America. But if you are interested in anything pertaining to endurance athletics or any of that type of stuff, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. And with that, I will open it up for questions if we have the ability to do so.
Yes, we do. If we could get a wireless mic in the audience so he can hear the questions. Thank you.
If you hear noise, background, I'm gulping down water.
We just appreciate you taking time out of your race today to meet with us.
I thoroughly am getting to be part of this.
Do we have any questions from the audience? I think we have one up here. Do I need to turn off this mic so that one will work?
Hey, Dave. My name's Eileen. I have a question. I was really interested in about, how, hello?
Yes.
Like you said, basically made it your full-time job to do this race across America, and then you found yourself in Colorado unable to continue. I was curious if you could talk a little bit more about what you learned from that in terms of, with hindsight being 2020. I'm kind of curious, was there anything you have learned that you felt you could have done differently where you could have kept going? Like, I know you talked about lack of sleep. Was it that, the sleep schedule, maybe lack of like self-care because just on the race? Or was it simply that you did try to go for the gold, and in that you found that, hey, you know what, I can do Race Across America, but I need to do it with a team versus individually? I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about those lessons that you learned because of that experience.
I would be happy to. I can go into some detail about it. The brutal truth of the matter is that I could never go into all that I've learned in the time constraints that we had this morning. But the basic thing that I learned is that there was an awful lot that I didn't know. And until you do something like this, you don't completely understand the magnitude. And even with doing smaller races leading up to it, it was unlike anything that I think I'd ever, it was unlike anything I'd ever done. And you realize that every second really matters. And what happened to us, with a combination of things, my pilot was having a lot of difficulty in the desert with the heat, and we lost a lot of time as a result of that. I was having some difficulties when we were in the Rockies, and we lost time because of that. And when we got to the point that I withdrew, if I'd had 5 or 6 hours to get my world together, we could have conceivably continued, but our finish line was basically gone. We'd already given up all the time that we had to give. And the idea of being able of going on and just ending when the time ran out and somewhere in West Virginia or something instead of at the finish line was just demoralizing, and I just couldn't do it. But we also had a number of things that were bad breaks. We had a flat in the desert on our crew vehicle out of cell phone range, and then we had a jack that broke when we tried to fix the flat, and it took us a couple of hours to get someone who could help us out with a working jack to change the spare tire in the middle of the desert. So you just had weird things. The other thing that I learned is that I think as this race is currently constructed, if I really have an equal shot at doing this, I need to be able to have more than one tandem pilot. Because if my pilot has difficulties, like Jim was having like back problems, and we would stop so he could just work on his back and stuff. Any other tandem bike that's done this had visual people, and they could swap places, and you could have multiple people be the pilot. I think I should be able to do that as well. So those are some of the things that I learned. There are so many things that I would have done differently. That being said, with what I had available, I am proud of the plan that we had in place. And I think a lot of those pieces worked. And the biggest thing that I learned was just to do things like as many races as possible on a grand scale, to soak in the knowledge and take what works and put it into my plan. Absolutely. Spend literally every day since RAM or since Race Across America reflecting on what we could have done differently to try to learn from our mistakes.
Wonderful, thank you. Did you have any other questions? Yes.
I'm bringing the mic to you. I'm running. Not really.
Recording your background. Box information. Watch face. 731.
Hey, Dave, it's Todd.
Hey,
buddy.
I told you I'd be here.
We will see you next year. Do you have a daily training regimen?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
Do
you.
you have a training regimen?
I do have a daily training regimen, and I have a coach because I don't understand how to put all this stuff together. I train anywhere from an hour to on weekends. I train for sometimes 8-9 hours to get longer rides in. I train using a bike trainer in my basement where the resistance can be controlled by workouts that are downloaded from my iPhone that are put together by my coach. And so some of the shorter workouts focus more on sprints, and then the longer workouts will focus on things like hills or endurance. So rather extensive training regimen. And as a result of that training regimen, because of all the calories I burn, I can eat whatever I want. And do.
Well, Dave, we just really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. And like you said, your race, thank you so much, seriously. And we love having you, and we're so glad you were able to join us again this year. So we hope to see you in person next year.
I'll be there in person. I don't have any ideas. I don't have any ideas for anything truly bizarre in November. So be there. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful convention, and I'll see you in person next year.
Oh, Miss Sandra with the door prize.
Of course, a lot of us don't participate, but we like to observe. So I have, we have to go into a stadium with a clear bag. I have a clear bag. And if we're at a University of Louisville football game, or I kind of wish I was today, there's a little blanket. Maybe you get hungry in the game and you need some money for a snack. So there's a little bit of money, $10. I have the name of Shari Anderson. Is she here today?
Oh, Shari is not here.
All right. All right. I have another name, and then I have another door prize. Oh my goodness, I bet this person's in the room. What about Scott Spalding?
Unfortunately, he is at work.
I forgot. Let's try one more of these. It's a braille. Hold on. And it's
I don't know any,
No, I'm reading. Grevi. What? I don't know, but No, it's not upside down. I can do that. Okay. The first name is Catherine. The last name.
She's not here.
Gribbage. Oh, I've never seen her name before. Well, let's.
Kathy Garrett. Yeah, Sandra.
Oh, that's right. It's formerly known as. Okay. I know the formerly known as person. Okay, let's try again. We're gonna. Why are these names? Oh, I know. I do this. No, oh, I know her. Mary Jo Hackworth.
Mary Jo's here. Yay, we have Mary Jo.
One more in honor of the kids. I didn't get to do that one, and right here. I didn't get to do anything for the kids, so we're gonna have a kid-friendly prize, and it is 2 passes to Kentucky Kingdom.
Ooh.
Okay, they are good through the end of next year. And whoever is, wow, Lonnie, you wrote these, right? I don't know. Last name is Marshall. Heather.
She was a presenter at the
Oh,
summit.
that's right. She's another OFB person. So
Come on,
that's,
Sandra, you're doing really bad drawing names.
I am.
Sandra, these were the lists you sent over and he just printed.
Yeah, I know. Okay, here we go. I
I'll
hope
take a
this
trip.
person is here. Joshua, ATHY, Azzy?
Not here.
No, Joshua. Okay, let's try again. I don't know Joshua. Okay, let's try. Ooh, Tobias?
That's mine.
Oh, yay, Toby!
Fair play.
Hey, I love that. It was a door prize for a kid and a kid got it.
No, give it to his mommy. That just means that Toby and Noah have to get together again.
Yeah, they have the last one they get together. They're causing mayhem right now in childcare. All right, guys, I think we've had a pretty good agenda going so far this morning. Next up is our Newsline Director, Todd Stevens, and Laura, to talk to us about our wonderful Newsline program and to give us a report.
Good morning. Is everyone familiar with NFB Newsline? Give me a show of hands. Clap, please. Okay, as you know, as most of you would know, NFB Newsline was developed in 1995 by Kenneth Jernigan and Dr. Ray Kurzweil. It gives blind people an opportunity to maximize their independence by reading what they want, when they want, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I have been your coordinator since 2014. When I took over as state coordinator, we had 1,864 subscribers to the service. Today, we have 2,455 subscribers. So quite a bit of work done to get that number. And I'm very proud of that. For the last 3 years, we have a goal, and our goal in this state is to bring in an average of 6 subscribers per month. And we are required as a benchmark to have 2 presentations per month. That has been very challenging, and we need your help. we need everybody to pull in because Laura and I run the service together, but we cannot do all of this by ourselves to meet 72 subscribers a year. But you know what? For the last 3 years, we've been able to do it. Year one, 2021, we exceeded expectations. We brought in 74 subscribers. In 2023, we brought in 82 subscribers, so 10 over. And this year, we brought in 84 new subscribers. And I want to give a big shout out to Tanya Gadden, who has really carried us. She's provided 35 subscribers, and Tanya works for the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation and Blind Services. So she has been our star. And I'm going to let Laura speak in just a second, but please keep in mind that we absolutely need to continue to bring in new subscribers. The core requirements or benchmarks for the service that we bring in new subscribers because we are state funded. And so there has to be a need for this service. If we don't continue to bring in subscribers, there is a chance that we could have our funding cut. And so we don't want that to happen. The other thing is retention. We want to make sure that those who are using the service continue to use the service. I'm going to let Laura take over and get into the nitty gritty of the service itself. And Laura?
All right, y'all get to listen to me again. So who doesn't know what NFB Newsline is there anybody that doesn't? Clap if you don't, because I'll just not say a whole lot. If everybody knows what NFB Newsline is. Okay, few people. Okay. Well, let me go over it quickly. NFB Newsline is the audio reading service for people with print disabilities. There are over 500 publications that are available to you free of charge. Many of these publications actually have paid subscriptions. So you as a person with a print disability are eligible to have access to these publications for free based on legislation that allows the copyright legislation. There are multiple ways that you can access the information. First is because this service began in 1995. It is through touch-tone telephone access. That was how it was originally developed. As times have changed, technology has changed. The service has evolved to, we now have an iOS app for your iPhone, iPad. You can access information with the Alexa smart speaker. You can also go onto the NFB Newsline website, read the content online. And if you have a humanware product, such as one of the brilliant devices, the Mantis Chameleon from American Printing House for the Blind, if you have a Victor Reader Stream from Humanware, there's actually like a podcast feed where you can set it up, and those articles that you want to read can be directly sent to your device when you're connected to Wi-Fi. In Kentucky, we have 9 Kentucky publications available. The Lexington Herald Leader, the Louisville Courier Journal are 2 of major newspapers from the state are available, and several other smaller publications in cities across Kentucky, as well as the publication of the Kentucky Bar Association, the Bench and Bar, and actually that is a paid subscription. The Kentucky Bench and Bar pays us to put their publication on NFB Newsline to make it available to blind lawyers in Kentucky. So we've had that partnership for, I believe, 10 years or so.
If anybody has any questions about NFB Newsline, if you're not signed up and would like to get signed up, if you can see me, I will take down your name and information and we will get you signed up. Yeah, there's probably lots more I could say, but you guys, most of you are familiar with NFB Newsline and you don't want to listen to me speak all day. So anyway, Todd has one more thing you'd like to say.
Who likes cash? Okay. We actually have a contest. We have two. Tanya Gatton is the recipient of one of our prizes. She's going to receive the grand prize of $250 in cash for being the most productive and bringing in the most subscribers. Tanya has outpaced the person that came in place brought in 11. Tanya brought in 35. So there's a big difference there. The other is $150 in cash. And for every subscriber you bring in, you have your name entered into a drawing, and we will do that tonight. So the other individuals who have contributed to the service, their names will be entered into a drawing, and we will draw that tonight. Everyone has the opportunity to bring in or refer subscribers. Make sure that if you refer someone, that you check with them first, because it's a little awkward when you refer someone and they don't know what the heck we're talking about. You are not allowed to refer yourself. No. And I'm glad that you said that, because that is a disqualifier.
However, somebody else could refer you and they could get credit, and then you can work that one out. But yeah, we do need your help in meeting our goal, and so please let your friends, if they're not familiar with NFB Newsline, please reach out to them. And like we said, if you make a referral, then we'll put your name in a hat and you have the chance to win $150. And that's going to be drawn tonight at our banquet. And our year runs from November 1st to October 31st. So we actually just finished up last year and we're beginning a new year. So if you refer somebody now, you would have a chance next year at our banquet. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you're signed up in another state and then you sign up for Kentucky, is that considered?
It is not. It's what's considered a transfer, Bruce, and you'll need to call our national office to do that. We're not allowed to. We can transfer people out, but we cannot transfer people in. So if you just get with me later, and I'll show you how to do that. But that would be a new subscriber to Kentucky. It would be considered a new subscriber. It is. For Kentucky, you're exiting one state and coming into Kentucky. So that would give us credit toward our goal, is what I mean to say. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Todd and Laura. Next on our agenda is our fabulous PAC chair, who is here to talk about PAC.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I'm cool, Lola. No, it's okay. Oh. Hi, okay, I have to hold this. Hi again, everyone. I had the aspirations of coming up here, having some awesome music to identify myself as the PAC chair, and I chickened out. Because I thought as soon as I try to tap my iPhone
and have my music come up here with me, something would go amok and you would be listening to an odd podcast or some gory part of a book. So I decided that I would just come, and instead of lofty music, I'm going to bring you logic. How many of you participate currently in the PAC plan? Okay, that's probably our whole subscription, folks. How many of you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about? Okay, how many of you fibbed about either of those questions? Oh, it was rhetorical, but that's okay. Now I know the room. Now I know what I can talk about. I'm going to appeal to you with logic. The PAC plan, PAC, stands for Pre-Authorized Contribution. Do you like going to National Convention? Okay, do you like the STEM programs for teens? Do you like Bell? We do lots of things in this organization to promote blindness and our experience in this great big world we live in. Everything that we do takes money, right? We eat at McDonald's, it costs money, right? We watch Netflix, it costs money, right? Yeah. And we all like Netflix and McDonald's. Well, stay away from those quarter pounders. But so the PAC plan is the pre-authorized contribution, meaning that every month an individual can have a particular amount of funds removed from your checking account. Oh, I'm scared to have anybody tampering with my account, you might say. Baloney. Okay? You have subscriptions, Prime Video, right? Amazon Prime? Don't they tamper? Yes, they do. It's not tampering. It's helping other people. Does it take a lot of money to help other people, to help other blindness, to promote to the sighted world who we are and how we live and how we can be important to others? No. It takes as little as $5 a month. Who had a $5 Starbucks this morning? Nobody, because Starbucks is more. Really is, right? $5 a month. Who has a Prime subscription? Amazon Prime. A $10 contribution is less than a year's Prime. $10 to this organization that provides us with so very many things. Kentucky, we do not need to be proud of our contributions because there's really nothing to be proud of. We don't have very many subscribers, and a lot of this is because some of our folks aged out and they went to live in a better place. So we, being real, I am nothing but, we need you. NFB needs you. We need you. You heard Miss Marilyn sing that song. We need your contribution right away. And in order to do that, Lonnie Swafford and myself are going to be outside these doors, and we can help you with that contribution. Now, we like competition, right? I like to win, right? I want to go for the gold. I mean, I'll take a bronze because it's a medal and it's cool and all, but I would like a gold medal. Shouldn't Kentucky be a gold medal state? This state used to be in the top 25 when it came to national contributions to this wonderful program that helps promote who we are, where we're going, what we want to be. Okay? So come talk to Lonnie. Come talk to me. If you sign up for the PAC plan, your name will be entered for a drawing. We draw for cash. We know what you want. So it's a gift card. It's as good as cash. And your name will be entered. We will be drawing for that at the banquet. You do not have to be present to win that. My goal And I don't think it's too lofty. My goal, and what our goal should be, is to increase our PAC pledges to 25 people by convention next year. Okay, you might think that's a little lofty. No, it's not. If we can just get 10, that's 10. I have more pairs of shoes than 10, and so do probably most of us in this room. 10 people by the end of this calendar year would be beautiful. 10 people by the end of this convention would be extraordinary. Let's see what we can do. Let's help this organization go for the gold. Let's once again be in that top 25 so we can hear the name Kentucky at the National Federation. Okay, y'all gonna help me sing this song? All right, remember it? All right, let's go. Get on the PAC plan, sign up today. We need your contributions right away. Joining our movement, it must be done, so all our battles can be won. Hey! Okay, I'm gonna give a door prize since I'm up here already and I have a microphone. Okay, and we usually give one after each presentation. So it's getting closer to lunchtime, right? And this is not McDonald's, so it's most likely safe to eat. So it is a it's a $25 gift card to Chick-fil-A, one of my favorite places. And I have to wonder if Mr. Alan Trudchenko is in the room. Yes, you are. Come on, Alan. And you're also going to get a t-shirt. And thank you. I do have it.
All right, that was wonderful, Sandra. Thank you. Is Sean Riley in the room?
He is not, but Katie Atkins said that she can speak on what's going on at this point.
That might be a good introduction. All right. Change of plans on the agenda until he gets here. Sean Riley will be joining us from TARC, which is the Transit Authority of River Cities, the transit system here in Louisville, for those of you that live outside of Louisville. And there's been quite a few issues going on with TARC, and Sean Riley is coming today to speak with us about the, Katie, I just linked up the survey that went out. And as he's not here yet, Katie's going to give us a quick synopsis of what's going on, and then we will hopefully have him here to give us that update, and then we will open up the floor for questions. Please be respectful, but ask your questions. Yes, ma'am.
Just letting you know. Hi, everyone. So I know most of you have probably heard quite a bit about TARC 2025, so I don't want to take too much of your time. I just want to give a brief overview in case anyone is not familiar. So over the summer, well, actually, starting in the spring, TARC announced that they were going to have a budget deficit of around $30 million. This started originally back in 2003. They are saying that if they don't have another funding source or make cuts, they will not be able to make payroll by, I believe it is June 2026. So what they have suggested at this time is two separate models. They call them their constrained concepts. The first one is called the ridership concept. This one would keep high frequency service, but to only certain areas of Louisville. So if you lived like in the Highlands, most of Clifton, kind of Crescent Hill, downtown, Old Louisville, those major areas, you would have bus service still, but anywhere that we would consider kind of like a suburb of Louisville or the outskirts of the county, Middletown, Fern Creek, J-Town, parts of Valley Station, even parts of Clifton Heights, once you get back towards where the VA hospital is, would lose service potentially under this. The second, well, and let me back up one second. The first, these are just concepts. So these are not final set plans. These are just what they have kind of brought to the table at this point and we gave feedback on. The second one is, oh my gosh, coverage concept. And it would keep service to basically everywhere that has service now, but the times would be spread out to every 90 minutes to 2 hours. And so what they're saying kind of within that is for a lot of people that would just be unusable. It's not practical to take your kids to school. It's not, they think ridership would even decline even more if they went towards that. So they gave us a survey where we gave feedback basically. So a lot of us, for example, said like, so right now under the ridership model, the McDowell Center doesn't have a bus going to it. It would be out of range for Park 3 service. So a lot of us gave feedback about that. That at least needs to be covered. That is a major training center for not just blind people, but people with all kinds of disabilities. It has a lot of disabled staff members that work there. We have to have access to that location. And finally, there's kind of this third option of what they could do if they got a lot of money, an additional $50 million each year. They could expand, they could go back to what we had in the spring before these most recent cuts, and they could expand and even add in a couple more routes. So we have been meeting, Justin Jeter, who was in the room, has been helping us on the TARC steering committee set up some meetings with different legislative people or JCPS and a couple others to kind of discuss what options are even available at this point for funding. I don't have anything major to report on that yet, but we are working on that. In addition to this week, TARC kind of abruptly announced some other, it's about every quarter, they make some kind of tweaks to routes. They might eliminate a spot here or there or change a bus around a little bit. These were pretty drastic though here recently. They're going to eliminate, it looks like 3 different routes and drastically reduce service to others. Now they have said on Facebook that at this time TARC 3 will not be impacted, and what was the other thing? That they have confirmed that it is separate from TARC 2025. The thing that we have some confusion on with this as well, though, is if TARC 3 is not impacted, that means they're grandfathering people in. And, you know, since that is outside of the ADA mandates, what does that mean? Does that mean that if there's a new we change directors about every 6 months to a year, it feels like? So if they grandfather people in, does that mean whenever we have a new director, can they say, it's Friday, on Monday now you don't have service? Could they say, you have TARC 3 still, but that's something when they've grandfathered before, they said you have it still, but it's just the work. So what does that look like? What does that mean? Yeah, basically. So that's just a broad overview of what's been happening for about the past 6 months. There's a lot more details I can go into if anybody has any questions. I just don't want to make you all listen to the same thing for the 4th or 5th time for some of you.
Does anyone have any questions for Katie?
Can you reiterate how much of the budget is TARC 3?
It is, so they group paratransit with customer service within their budget breakdown. It is about in like 22-23% though, is what it says in their most recent financial report. It is a large portion of it. They do mention that as one of the reasons that they are having a budget shortfall. They've said since ADA was implemented that costs have risen 770% is their number. And they've talked about, even in their most recent board meetings, there's more and more and more and more TARC 3 users. And that's to be expected. More people, as they become older, become disabled. COVID has caused some disabilities, all those things. And so that's a rising cost that keeps coming in.
Any other questions?
I got it. I'm worried. My question is, as a Park Street rider, it's frustrating because it's penny fishing. Such as at the McDowell Center, there's maybe 7 of us that leave at the same time. And I'll send 5 different people. So it seems to me if it was better managed, we wouldn't be like
Sean Riley's coming down the hall, by the way.
Oh, okay, well then. You all go.
All right, thank you so much, Katie, for giving us that synopsis. And I believe he's coming in the room here.
He's
Just
being
one.
right down the hall
Okay. Sandra, let's do door prize.
Okay, well, I have a bag that has various and sundry Pepsi logos, sundry, products in it. And I also, just because I have the ability, threw in a little bit of cash money, $10 inside the Pepsi bag. So if you prefer Coke, but like $10 is still flat. And this is going to Historia Ross Jackson. We got part of it, right? Well,
She was at our senior summit.
okay, let's try one.
I mean, you can't leave her upside down, Sandra? Come on.
Oh my goodness, I know she's not here because she's my mommy. I mean, my,
She's also at our senior summit.
she did get a beer. School ties at the summit. So, yeah. Oh, wow, I know she's some. Where is Emma Swafford? Right next to you.
She's got door prize. All right, has Sean Riley made it into the room? Wonderful. All right, I am going to now invite Sean Riley to come up to the microphone. He is here from TARC, and he's going to give us an update about the TARC 2025 plan and the results of the survey and what that is going to look like in regards to transportation here in Louisville and across the state. Here's an over.
Hello, thanks for having me. Appreciate being here this morning. It is a very busy time for TARC. I just left the JCPS Showcase of Schools in order to be here. Yes. Oh, hello? Oh, okay. How's that? Is that better? Okay. Thank you guys for having me. Again, it's been very busy for TARC with the TARC 2025 project and the network redesign. But I want to thank Ashley and everybody here who has helped us far exceed our goals in terms of the surveys we've been able to complete. I think you guys were one of the first organizations that reached out and wanted to host a large scale meeting for us. And so we ended up with, I guess our original goal for the surveys was we thought 1,000 surveys across Louisville was going to be a really good number for us in terms of getting community feedback. We ended up with 2,800 surveys across the city. So we far exceeded our goal. And we were, really impressed by how passionate people were about TARC and about public transportation. And so thank you guys for that. If you weren't in those TARC 2025 meetings, just kind of give a brief summary of what we were doing and why. So TARC is facing pretty significant challenges. We've got about a $30 million budget shortfall. And what that means, on the ground is that we're going to have to cut about 50% of our service across the city. And that could be a reduction in how often the buses come, the frequency, or it could be a reduction in the number of routes that we have. And so we were asking the community is to weigh in on two concepts that our transportation consultants, a group called Jared Walker and Associates out of Portland, Oregon, designed for us. And the two choices were, one was called a coverage concept. This was the attempt to have TARC still service all of Jefferson County, but the buses can only come every hour, every 2 hours in some cases. Or we had the other concept was called a ridership concept, and that was to try and maintain as much frequent service as possible. When I say frequent service, I mean buses are coming every 30 minutes or every 15 minutes. And that concept was focusing on the areas where we have the highest ridership. And so of the 2,800 people that we had, the survey ended up, so the people who saw those two concepts, they were, kind of extremes on the spectrum. And we wanted to get the feedback in order to guide us in terms of like how to turn the dial. Are we going 100% ridership? Are we going 100% coverage? Are we going 50-50? What does that look like? And so based on the surveys, the community wanted about a 60% focus on ridership and about a 40% coverage, or 40% focus on coverage. And so when we're allocating our buses and we're allocating where to put our resources, what that kind of translates to is focusing, 60% of our resources on trying to do as much frequent service, again, 30-minute frequency, 15-minute frequency, and then 40% of our resources on trying to cover as much area as possible. And so that is where the survey results came down. And we are like literally this week beginning to work on what does that look like in terms of the maps. So like where are the buses going to go? How frequent are they going to run? So if you are familiar with those two concepts, it's not quite 50-50 split. So we're going to have again a reduction in service, 50% overall. But in terms of what that looks like, we don't know yet. We're hoping to have the draft in January, and then we'll come back to all of the groups that we visited and kind of show these drafts, talk about what's going on with them, and get feedback in terms of, are we missing something? Do we need to make sure this area gets service? So we're not quite sure yet, but we know that in terms of allocating our resources, we know kind of where we want to be. It's going to be more focused on that ridership, but it's nowhere kind of what those concepts look like before in terms of the how the breakdown is. Those were again extremes. So we're trying, we're somewhere in the middle, but definitely the community wanted more ridership for sure. And I'm sure you guys have also seen or read the news recently that came out this week about some service cuts that TARC is having to make at the beginning of the new year. Again, we are still facing this budget shortfall. We're going to have to continue to make adjustments until we can get our new network in place. And so we are eliminating 3 routes beginning in January. And these routes are the 22, the 52, and Route 63. And we are trying our best to consolidate or absorb those routes into some other routes. So the 63 is going to be, most of that's going to try and be absorbed by the 18th Street route, or the number 18 route. And that 18 route is going to get some service improvement. But the 52 route, that's the circular that's downtown. That route was kind of redundant because there's already a ton of service downtown, and we weren't getting a whole lot of ridership on that circulator. So we're still trying to save money, trying to buy as much time as possible, and trying to sort of stabilize TARC because we know at some point in the near future, if we don't make these cuts and don't make these adjustments, TARC will not be financially solvent. So there may be, I don't know for certain how many more cuts are yet to come, but just based on the budget, we'll kind of have to continue to make these changes until we can get the new network in place and figure out kind of like what the new TARC's going to look like. So again, coming up in January, I hope to have the draft plans for you all. Again, we'll do a meeting and we can get feedback on that. And then I think at this point in time, the earliest we could probably implement the new TARC network would be at some point in 2026. So we're still working on these timelines, still kind of a moving target. But that is the goal and the update right now. I do have, if anybody's interested, I do have some handouts with the service changes that are going to happen in January. If anybody wants to have these, I have them in large print. We don't have them in Braille yet, but we do have them posted on our website. Yes, sir.
Can I ask 2 quick?
Sure.
Oh, sure.
There you go.
Two quick questions. So the difference in impact on y'all's decision making between the stakeholder forums and the broad survey. That I mentioned like a question. So.
Sure. So the difference is, so we had the stakeholder meetings with about 50 different kind of high-level CEOs and executives from across Louisville, or people who lead different agencies. That group was pushing a little bit more of a push for the ridership concept than the coverage concept, versus where the overall community was. So they're, that group of individuals, they were, more heavily towards the ridership than the overall community was. Yeah.
And this past week at the AI task force in Frankfurt, Amazon was testifying about some of their software to maximize or to like plan their delivery truck routes. They said that they would be willing to work with Kentucky government on sharing that software. Is that something that you all have explored, that kind of thing?
I don't know about that yet. If our leadership is involved with that, I haven't heard yet. But I'll definitely bring that up to talk on Monday.
I'll give some context.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
Any more questions?
I'm kind of curious about like a little bit of the transparency for how some of these decisions are made, because a lot of us have either listened in on the Zoom board meetings, or I've gone back and looked at the agendas and everything, and you can see some of the talk about TARC 2025 on there, or you can see like concerns that are coming up with TARC 3 and things like that, but I know TARC makes quarterly adjustments and things to routes all the time, but this is a little bit more than what is typically happens in the quarterly adjustments, and it feels like it came out of nowhere. And then I know, you all had obviously the open houses and the meet and greet, those kind of things, but these last couple of days when they had the retreat, as they call it, that doesn't seem to be, there's no Zoom link. There is no way to at least hear what the process is, because I think a lot of us in this room we were taken by surprise with a lot of this, and we're really trying to avoid that in the future, and it's incredibly difficult to do that.
It is, yes. So it sounds like I'm hearing two things. One, about the changes that we announced this week. So those changes, yes, they were pretty quick in terms of how those decisions were made. I don't have a ton of information on how that was made. I know that it's a financial decision on our part, in addition to trying to improve our service, because we do have a reliability problem right now for sure, and we are still facing this $30 million fiscal cliff. So again, we're trying to try and buy as much time as possible before we implement the overall network redesign. And I don't have a lot of information on like the financial position right now, and why it was so important, but I do know like it is still a huge factor that we've got to make these cuts in order to stabilize TARC. And in addition to that, we're trying to also provide as much service as we can. We are missing trips, right? So right now we don't have the staff. So if a driver calls in sick, oftentimes we don't have a person who can fill that route. So we're missing service. And so we're hoping that this change will kind of help with those two issues. Hopefully it'll help to address some of the financial issues we're facing, but then also trying to address those missed trips that we're facing. So this is, I want to make sure I get my numbers right. It's going to save about $4 million annually. So we're still trying to, we still got a big hurdle to get to that $30 million. But this June service changes that we did, those were projected around like $7 million, and so then this is, another $4 million. So we're, trying to buy time in terms of like getting to that point where we can implement the new network. As for you said the Zoom calls this week for the design retreat.
Yes.
That's still, I guess, in-house. That's not public yet.
So
I
guess what's hard is we're trying to actually meet with different legislators. We have had several meetings at this point, and it is hard to advocate for what TARP needs, which is what we in this room need, if we don't know that, hey, on a random Tuesday, we're going to hear that even more routes are cut now and things like that. I guess that's just my point. And I know that's not a decision you personally make or anything, but we would just like some more.
Right, for sure. Yeah, so we are trying to get that information out as fast as possible. So again, these changes are going to happen in January. We have the community meetings coming up for those service changes. They're going to be on the 13th. I want to make sure I get the dates right.
13th and the 14th.
13th and the 14th, yes. Want to get community feedback on those dates, and then you can also submit online. So in terms of like trying to meet our requirements for notification, we're trying to give you guys as much notice as possible, and some of these decisions, because of the financial situation, are being made at a faster pace than typical.
Well, and I'm sorry, one other small thing, because the reason I knew it was part of 25 is because Florida had that meeting that night.
Yep.
But when I had called customer service that day, because there was just kind of a lot of rumors going around, the woman that answered the phone was very nice, very helpful, but told me this absolutely was part of Part 2025. So that's difficult.
Yeah.
When we call, there's just little examples. Kathy called, for example, with the TARP bus pop-ups to see, is it a north or a southbound stop you all are going to be at, that kind of thing. And you answer that question.
Yes, we don't know. Yeah.
But when you're blind and you're trying to find a bus stop, and sometimes it just says, one of them just said like Dutchman, or something like that. That's you just wander down the street until your cane hits a sign. Those kind of things really matter.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're trying, we're hoping to have the maps for these service changes as soon as possible. We'll definitely have them ready for the community meetings. But yeah, so it is, these changes are not directly tied to TARP 2025. It's more tied to the fiscal cliff situation, more so than anything. So the TARP 2025 stuff, again, that's, basically going to be, the whole kind of network redesign in terms of like what we're looking at now. And some of these changes are, I guess, just tied to that for the financial aspect, but we're not directly tied to the TARP 2025 plan.
Is there any more questions? Ready? Ms. Felicia.
Hello, I'm Felicia. I had a question. So, is there any way that TARP applied for the $9 million for the buses that are sitting? Can they not apply for a grant that helps with the situation? And also, the buses that are sitting, can they not be sold to bigger cities that have the capability to handle those buses?
I assume you're referring to our electric buses. Is that correct? Okay. Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about how federal grants work. Federal grants are very project centered. So like if you have a project or something that you're going to be doing, like buying buses, buying equipment, or some kind of repair, those federal grant dollars have to be used for what that project is or what you're purchasing. And federal grants, there aren't any that I've seen or aware of that allows us to put service on the street, meaning for drivers, grants for hiring drivers, grants for in the buses. But most of the grants are tied to projects. So those buses that we bought for electric buses, the grant says you're going to buy electric buses and you have to use those grant dollars to buy the electric buses. Those electric buses were from a company called Proterra. That company has since gone bankrupt. And the parts and equipment to fix and repair those buses is not available. The other thing about those buses, when you're having a federal grant, a lot of times there are stipulations that you can't sell or dispose of the property that you purchased for a certain amount of time. We are still within that where we can't sell them because of the federal grant, the regulations there. We can't use them because the company that made them is bankrupt. We're between a rock and a hard place, and other train stations are in the same position because a lot of agencies bought these same buses with federal dollars, and the federal government's aware of the situation we're in. So they are. I know there's talks with trying to amend the regulations around these buses so that agencies have a way to dispose of them. But we're not there, yet. Talk about some other things we have coming up in terms of grants that you'll probably be seeing in the near future. We did get another grant to buy electric buses. And they are going to be from a company called Gillig. Gillig makes all of our regular buses. They're a much larger, more established company than Proterra. So we will be using federal grant dollars to add electric buses to our fleet later, probably early next year. And again, it's like sort of a use it or lose it type of situation where the federal government says, hey, here's a grant. You can buy electric buses with this, or you can not, do anything. So we're getting into electric buses. Hopefully, because this company is a larger company, more established company, that we won't be in a situation where we get these buses and then Gillig goes bankrupt like Proterra did. Proterra was a much smaller kind of startup thing. Another thing we're looking at is, I think this should be helpful. Many people may be aware that our GPSs on our bus are over a decade old. The computer system, the GPS and the Wi-Fi are not always the best. And so oftentimes the GPS on the bus may not be working. So if you're using Google Maps, that bus is not showing up on Google Maps. We did get a grant from the federal government to upgrade all of our GPSs on our buses. And this comes with an additional feature of there is going to be a new video and audio system on the bus that is going to be tied directly to the GPS, so that there will be a screen on the bus and speakers on the bus where there's going to be automatic stop announcements that are directly tied into the GPS. So if you're on the bus, you're going to be able to hear and see the stops that are coming, and there'll be announcements of the stops. If you're not on the bus, it means that your app, if you're using Google Maps or if you're using Transit app or another one of the apps, that data that you're have on your phone is going to be much, much better than we're having now. So it's going to be real-time information on all of our buses, and it's going to be updated multiple times a minute, whereas now that's not happening with our GPS. So that's a federal grant. And again, it's one of the situations where the federal government says, you can do this with this grant, or you can do nothing. So yeah, the way the grants are working, they're very, again, tied to very specific projects.
Take a couple more questions. All right, Miss Lori. Sean, I know that you're probably in a hurry, but after we're done with the questions, if you can just.
I thought it was starting at 11:30. So
well, see, you're ahead of schedule. So we may have you all afternoon. No, so just stick around after our questions, okay? Sure.
So first of all, I want to say, I don't know how much they're paying you, but it must be difficult to get up into these meetings.
because we're frustrated. I think you can get that.
Yes, ma'am.
But the frustration lies in always hearing that there's a deficit and that there was a grant for $1 million for a consulting firm to come in. And what has that consulting firm done other than the crazy survey that I don't think equally represented the disabled community? Because there's not as many of us as there is the regular public. So I think we were at a disadvantage to begin with on the coverage plan. But anyway, so this $1 million grant, God love us, we love our grants. But are they working towards a plan to build ridership, or is it just how to get out of this mess?
Right. So the two models that are the two concepts are on the survey. You know, the ridership model, we know from data from essentially every transit agency around the world that the more frequency you have, that's tied to higher ridership numbers. So when a bus is coming every 15 minutes, those buses are going to experience higher ridership than the bus that's coming once an hour, right? And so in terms of like trying to build ridership, the way the community survey broke down was, that 60-40 split essentially. So 60% of our resources, once that plan is in place, will be focused on trying to build ridership. And then, that 40% is going to be towards coverage. And so coverage is a route, that's going to be maybe coming every 60 minutes, every 90 minutes, or every 2 hours. And, as for Part 3, that coverage is key because of that 3/4 of a mile. So there'll be, a bus maybe in an area that's coming maybe every 2 hours. That bus may not have great ridership, right? But because that bus is in the area, that means Part 3 can be in that area. So it's a trade-off in terms of like trying to balance how this is going, and it's really, really tough when you're dealing with a $30 million deficit. I mean, I think our consultants described the situation here in Louisville as dire when you're comparing us to other areas, other cities, and it's just it's not a great situation for anybody to be in. We're not happy that we're in this situation. It's not great. Again, Louisville as a whole, TARC is funded through the occupational tax. Okay, TARC it gets 0.2% of that tax. That funding model for TARC has not changed since 1974.
I get that.
Yeah,
So
the city has drastically changed since then.
Sure.
Yeah.
Bigger.
Yeah. I don't know of any business or any company or anything in the world that can try and try and serve what they're intended to serve if your funding hasn't changed since 1974.
So how many big businesses do we have in Louisville? What are we
like
doing?
Fortune 500 companies?
Yeah, like
the UPSs, Amazon, Humana, Kindred, stuff like that. I don't know. We got a few. Read the news. It's a lot of companies are leaving Louisville, so it's tough.
Hello, this is Mary. A question that I have wondered, I've not heard it come up yet, and it probably has, it's just not been in the meetings or the literature that I have read. I understand we are in this situation. Is the company that we're paying for the grant, and they probably are, and like I said, I've not heard it yet, looking back to understand how we've gotten in this mess to begin with, and then helping us to devise a plan to make sure we don't become in this mess again. I know right now the immediate is to put, we've got to figure out the immediate, but are they also helping us with projections to ensure that once we get out of this dire situation, we can continue to flow, and then we can learn from our mistakes in the past in the community, if it's that we need to, help rally money. Again, it's, TARC is an organization that we as the community are the ones using it. How can we continue in the future to ensure that we don't get into a dire situation? And then also, is it being assessed for how we got to this point specifically? Because I'm sure it's not just one thing.
Right. Yeah. So in terms of like moving forward, so once the overall new system's in place at that 50% reduction of service, the projections are that should stabilize TARC for the next decade. So about 10 years out after that is put in place. In terms of how TARC got here, it's a long history. It's a combination of pressures from different parts of Louisville, from different areas, from the city, people wanting TARC to come to their neighborhood or to their area, and TARC trying to say yes to everybody. And for some point in time, TARC could do that. TARC could expand. TARC could add routes. And so over the years, TARC has added routes and added areas that now we're still serving, but the ridership has changed, right? So, and then TARC just never adjusted that. So now we've got to make these big changes because you got people say, oh, giving somebody something 10 years ago was maybe an easy decision, and then now trying to pull that back is very tough. So it's a tough situation. It's not a good situation to be in. We don't like being in this situation, but we're trying to make the changes with community input as TARC, and unless there's some sort of political will to provide increased funding for TARC.
So one of the things I saw kind of researching this is an article, I believe it was Carrie Butler was the director still, I think that was her name when this was written. And it was kind of talking about the funding issue, and it brought up that TARC had the power to call for a vote, like a referendum, a vote from the community on changing the funding source. Is that something TARC is considering at this time, or?
In terms of a referendum, so anybody in Louisville can call for a referendum. Referendums can be citizen led. The council could call for it, the mayor could call for it, or citizens could call for it for a ballot initiative. There's a set of rules. If somebody wanted to do a ballot initiative, I don't know all the details on it, but it's open to the public to do a ballot initiative, or it's open to the Metro Council or the mayor. There's several mechanisms for how to call for a ballot initiative. But yeah, in terms of that, right now we're focused on trying to get the TARC 2025 plan finalized, trying to get those drafts planned, and then from there wanting to implement it the best we can. And if there was a ballot initiative like TARC, I think our position is that we're trying to stay neutral on that, and we're going to leave those sort of political decisions up to the powers that be.
All right, over to Karen. Are we worrying about Sean?
This will be fast. I don't live in Louisville now, but I used to, and we could go wherever we needed to go, and there was even not TARC 3 then. My brother lived here forever, and he called you all the blind man's limousine. Anyways, most of my question was answered already about the grants and all of that mess, but I just wondered if you guys have checked with other big cities in the country or even in Kentucky to see if they are having that kind of problem as well, and if they're not, how they are able to meet their budgets.
Yeah, so in terms of other cities, so Cincinnati is a pretty good example. They did a ballot initiative in 2020. So in about 2019, Cincinnati had a very similar budget to TARC. They had a $100 million budget. Cincinnati's budget is now well over $200 million for their transit in the city. And again, they did a ballot initiative. Then right now, Northern Kentucky, their transit is called Tank. They are going to be doing a fare increase. I believe they're going from like $1.50 a ride for a fixed route to $2 a ride on their fixed route, and I think their paratransit is probably going to be somewhere around $4 per trip. So Cincinnati, they did a ballot initiative. Transit Tank, Northern Kentucky, they're going to do a fare increase. So people are addressing this different ways, and don't know, kind of how we're looking to get more funding just yet. But again, we're focused on trying to get the TARC 2025 plan finalized and implemented.
Any more questions? Okay. I'm heading this. The mics keep going down.
Hey, I was just curious, you're talking about the Proterra buses, the electric buses. So how many does Louisville have in its fleet and how many are not being used? And like out of the issues TARC is facing, the fact that these buses where the company went bankrupt, what percentage of the pie is this the problem with these electric buses that can't be fixed, or are they, like, I'm just curious, what is the fleet and how many are not being used? And how big of a part of the problem is this?
Oh, yeah. So in terms of the fleet of electric buses, I don't know. I think the last time I was in the garage, there's maybe somewhere around 12 of them, at least that I saw. I don't know. I don't have the exact number, but probably around 12.
That are sitting idle, or 12 total buses?
Yeah, that are sitting idle. There are a couple I know that are still running and still going out on some of our shorter routes around downtown. Don't know the exact details, but we have, in terms of our buses, it's not a problem. We have more than enough buses to serve what we need to do. The problem is we don't have enough drivers.
Okay, so the drivers is
the big issue. So the drivers are our big issue. It'd be great if there was a grant to get drivers. But most of the federal grants are all tied to buying something physical or doing something with the grant. So yeah, the buses aren't an issue in terms of like TARC being able to serve the population. We've got enough buses.
Okay, so it sounds like I mean, it sounds like it's unfortunate that federal grant money kind of in a way went down the drain almost, because now this company went bankrupt and we can't. I don't know much about the Proterra thing, but just with you mentioning it, I just kind of Googled it.
Yeah.
So it looks like when Proterra went bankrupt, their business did get sold off in part to Volvo, to Phoenix Motor Cars, to Cohen Equity, and none of those companies have the parts or the ways to like help fix these buses. So it sounds like their business got split off and sold to these different companies, a big one being Volvo.
Yeah. I don't know specifically of like how their business was divided or sold, or if people bought technology or what they bought. I just know that we don't have the parts and we can't get the parts that we need.
All right, I think that.
Sure.
All right, this will be our last question.
I like to sit and listen. Heard something that's conflict my mind and maybe a clearer understanding. I think you have mentioned and others have mentioned from the Transit Authority that, we have plenty of buses in the fleet, but not enough drivers. However, back in June, when you made other quarterly adjustments, 77 drivers were laid off, and some, not all, were taken up by Jefferson County. That just seems to be one of those oxymorons, and I'd like to understand that a little bit better.
Right. So in June, when we made the service reductions, switching TARC to what was our Saturday schedule for most routes, except for our 4 key routes, there was going to be layoffs. And the mayor's office came up with the idea that TARC was going to have to lay off drivers. Maybe those drivers could go to JCPS. So the mayor's office coordinated between TARC and JCPS to move those drivers that were going to be laid off, move them from TARC to JCPS, where they could still be a TARC driver. So TARC is still paying their salary and their benefits. They're still a TARC employee technically, but it's sort of like a lend-lease program to JCPS, where these drivers are driving for JCPS. JCPS is covering the full cost of the drivers. So the JCPS is paying TARC, but those drivers get to remain TARC employees and where they're keeping their benefits and they're keeping their pension plan in the hopes that at some point they can come back to TARP. But yeah, that is, I know it's kind of complicated situation there. And, I think it's a good thing that the drivers are able to maintain their health benefits, maintain their retirement plan, maintain their insurance, and they're still getting that TARP paycheck. They're just driving buses, not for TARP, they're driving JCPS. And then JCPS is then paying TARP for that. So hopefully that answers. I know it's kind of a complicated situation.
Thank you, Sean. All right, Angela. Don't run away, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. If you don't mind to stick around, we actually have a couple resolutions that we need to read on the floor and take a vote on that we would like to give to you. We completely understand you do not make decisions and you're just a messenger, but you're the messenger who can take this information back to your bosses. So I'm going to introduce Kathy Jackson, who is going to read our resolutions. We will do one at a time.
Okay, if you've looked at your schedules, you probably have noticed that resolutions are not intended to be read today, but tomorrow business meeting. But since Mr. Riley is here, we felt like it was the appropriate thing to do to present them with him. So I need to tell you that I had a resolutions committee. Lonnie Swafford was the chair. Katie Adkins, Jacob Hack, and I were his co-workers. And we had a good committee and a meeting of the minds, and I think things went very well. These resolutions are rather lengthy. So if I hear any snoring, I can't really say that I blame you, and I'm going to try to do my best to read these for accuracy and clarity rather than speed. Okay, resolution 2402 concerning the driver training deficiencies in TARP 3 paratransit services in Louisville, Kentucky. Whereas TARP 3 paratransit services operated by MV Transportation under contract with Transit Authority of River City, TARP, are required by law under the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, of 1990, codified under 42 U.S.C. 12101, to provide equitable door-to-door transportation for persons with disabilities who are unable to use fixed route services due to functional limitations. And whereas the ADA's regulations under Title II, specifically 28 CFR Part 35, requires that public entities, including transportation providers like TARP, ensure accessible transportation services for individuals with disabilities, mandating training for staff and contractors on how to effectively communicate and assist passengers, including those who are blind or have low vision. And whereas 49 CFR Part 37, the U.S. Department of Transportation's ADA regulations governing transportation services further requires paratransit services to be provided at levels comparable to those regarding fixed route services, including consistency of scheduling, service areas, and vehicle accessibility. And whereas these regulations have been amended and clarified over the years, including revisions in 2006, further updated in 2010, and despite TARP and MV Transportation's technological updates since 2020, passengers continue to report systematic issues related to service quality, non-discrimination, proper driver and staff training, and communications, which highlight the need for driver training, driver training reform that focuses on enhanced safety, communication, and respect to all passengers. And whereas despite these federal protections, numerous complaints from TART 3 passengers have surfaced in recent years, including reports of inadequate driver training, poor communication between drivers and blind passengers, and safety concerns, all of which compromise the intent and spirit of the ADA. And whereas blind passengers frequently report that TART 3 drivers are not properly trained in guiding techniques or providing verbal instruction, and that some drivers handle passengers improperly by grabbing their canes and manipulating their limbs without consent, further violates the ADA's mandate under 28 CFR 35.130, which prohibits public entities from discriminating against individuals with disabilities and emphasizes the need for effective communication. And whereas these failures are exacerbated by language barriers between passengers and drivers and by lack of clear communication regarding which provider will be picking up passengers, causing additional confusion and frustration. And whereas TART 3 offers essential transportation to those who need it most, yet the issues with service reliability, including missed or delayed pickups, indicate the need for significant operational improvements in line with 49 CFR 37.131, which sets service criteria for ADA paratransit programs. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky and convention this third November 2024 in the city of Louisville, Kentucky, that we call upon TART and MV Transportation to take immediate action to comply fully with the ADA's mandates under 28 CFR Part 35 and 49 CFR Part 37, which emphasize thorough and proper training to include monitoring for compliance with the updated regulations under 49 CFR Part 37, and that this organization and MV Transportation to collaborate with the National Federation of the Blind of Greater Louisville and the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky to develop a comprehensive driver training curriculum, which will include proper guide techniques, effective communication strategies, the appropriate handling of passengers and their and mentorship opportunities conducted by blind passengers and seasoned drivers. And be it further resolved that this organization demand TART and MV Transportation enhanced communication systems, notifying passengers in advance about which provider will be picking them up, improving transparency, and reducing confusion of all riders in full compliance with the ADA's principles of accessibility and non-discrimination. The committee recommends a do pass.
Do you have any comments from the floor? Hearing no comments, do I have a second? Okay. Reminder that only members can vote. When you registered, if you were given 2 bands in your registration packet, you are a due-paying member and you have the right to vote on the committee floor. The motion has been made and seconded, and having no further comments, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution passes. Kathy is going to read our second resolution for TARC.
I'm not sure I can make it to this one. What's this one? Oh, thank you. Just for a heads up, this one's even longer. I hope I can get through this one. Huh? You want to do it? I mean, it's up to you. I mean, it's up to you, dear. If you're going to start on me. You're welcome.
Resolution 2024-05 regarding TARC's lack of inclusion of the blind community. Whereas the Transit Authority of River City is the only public transportation system serving the greater Louisville region, providing over 5.1 million passenger trips annually through fixed route and paratransit services. And whereas blind and low vision and otherwise disabled riders depend upon TARC and TARC-3 services to actively participate in their community, including going to work, school, church, medical appointments, and social activities. And whereas TARC announced in the spring of 2024 that because of a budget shortfall of $30 million, they would be reducing fixed route service by 50% in 2025. And whereas it was announced that the first round of service reductions would take place in January 2025, but because of a last-minute agreement with Jefferson County Public Schools, JCPS, it was announced on May 21st, 2024 that TARC would transition to a Saturday Plus schedule that would include service reduction to 22 routes, including the elimination of 3 express routes entirely and a drastic reduction of service frequency to the other 19 routes on June 30th, 2024. And whereas these abruptly enacted service reductions caused an undue hardship to riders that depend upon TARC to travel independently, and whereas on July 18th, 2024, TARC formally launched TARC 2025, a community planning process that will be used to determine the future of TARC. And whereas as part of this process, TARC released a series of documents that are inaccessible to blind and low vision riders, including an existing conditions report that outlines the factors that led to the current financial crisis at TARC, a public engagement plan, and the network concepts report, a document that outlines potential service reductions to both service frequencies and service area. And whereas these potential service reductions would remove many blind riders from TARC's service area or reduce route frequency to such a low level that it would be virtually unusable. And whereas all riders were supposed to provide input regarding service reductions by completing the TARC 2025 concept survey. And whereas blind riders were forced to rely upon information provided by sighted peers and TARC employees who often were unable to accurately answer questions about the concepts instead of independently reviewing the documents. Sorry, I'm reading a little fast. Instead of independently reviewing the documents as the sighted public was able to do in order to fill out the TARC 2025 survey. And whereas the lack of accessible documents is not isolated to the TARC 2025 publications, the vast majority of reports, including budget reports and meeting agendas that would have alerted blind riders to the impending financial crisis at TARC, were also inaccessible. And whereas after the lack of accessibility was pointed out for several weeks, TARC attempted to make a limited amount of information in the form of videos discussing major points of interest within each concept, but this amount of information paled in comparison to the almost 200 pages of information available to the sighted public in the TARC 2025 documents. And whereas the lack of accessibility directly violates the Department of Transportation's DOT, Americans with Disabilities Act regulations at 49 CFR section 37.167F, which states that a transportation entity must make communication and information available in accessible formats and technology for riders to obtain information about transportation services. Whereas the failure to make these documents accessible also violates Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act, 29 U.S.C. 794D, which requires that all electronic and information technology developed, procured, maintained, or used by federal agencies and entities receiving federal funding, such as public transit systems, be accessible to people with disabilities. And whereas making their service reduction recommendations, TARC took the needs of several communities into consideration: elderly, young riders, zero vehicle households, many others. but failed to consider the needs of the blind or the disabled community in Louisville as a whole. And whereas the needs of TARC 3 paratransit riders have been ignored in the process, even though users of TARC 3 have expressed on multiple occasions that knowing what the impact would be to TARC 3 was essential to their ability to give accurate feedback on the network concepts. And whereas representatives of TARC have been asked on a regular basis on social media and emails, calls to TARC's customer service, and all community events about the potential impacts to TARC 3 service. And whereas the TARC network's concept report states that no decision regarding paratransit services are being made at this time. And whereas the director of TARC, Ozzie Gibson, did not announce until September 5th, 2024, 2.5 months into the TARC 2025 process, that a decision for TARC 3 would be made in January 2025. And whereas the Department of Transportation, DOT, Americans with Disabilities Act regulations at 49 CFR section 37.131A1I only require that paratransit providers offer services within 3/4 mile of a fixed route stop. And whereas if TARC chooses to only offer service within the federally mandated service area, many TARC 3 users will lose access to this lifeline service, highlighting the need for TARC 3 users to immediately be made aware of any potential reductions in service. And since 2019, members of the National Federation of the Blind of Greater Louisville, NFBKY, have filed grievances, sent open record with representatives of TARC Press, the importance of adequate transit service, timely communication, and accessible materials followed through from TARC. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Blind of Kentucky in convention assembled this third day in November 2024 in the city of Louisville, Kentucky, that this organization condemn and deplore TARC's lack of accessibility of essential documents relating to TARC 2025 and all other inaccessible documents on TARC's website. And be it further resolved that we condemn and deplore the lack of inclusion of blind and other disabilities from the TARC 2025 process and their failure to provide timely answers regarding paratransit services. Further resolved that this organization demand that the same day information is available to the general public, TARC also provide accessible documents that include all information included in the original documents. Be it further resolved that we demand an immediate answer to the future of TARC 3 services and that any future decisions regarding service changes will include an announcement regarding any potential impact to TARC 3 services. At the same time, announcements are made about changes to fixed routes. Committee recommends to pass.
The motion has been seconded. Is there any comments from the floor? Hearing no discussion. All those in favor, please signify. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution passes. Sean, we would like to give this to you to take back. Again, we understand you do not make these, but you are our messenger. We will also email them. Thank you, sir. And thank you for coming to talk to us. We appreciate it. Can we get a door prize?
Put your stuff in, a blankie in case the bus is really late, you can huddle under it under the bus stop. And maybe you need some Starbucks or something for a bus ticket. So I've got $10 in here. So it is the bus riding pack and it is going to, oh my gosh. Well, she can ride the bus in Chicago and
All right, thank you guys. Awesome. You just said you needed those for your hands because your hands were cold. There you go. It is cold in here. Next on our agenda is Jacob and Amelia Hack, and they are coming to talk to us about our right to ride. Transportation is a theme here.
Are you all? Am I saying my name? They're on their way. Oh. I forgot to mention this earlier, guys, but there's chips and salsa left over from last night's social in the back of the room on the table if anybody wants a snack. So, do you believe this is Jacob? Here you go, sir.
So, anybody out there who is blind and had a guide dog denial or a cane denial in Uber or Lyft? Or know somebody who has? Pretty much anyone with a guide dog, I feel like, has had a guide dog denial. So, recent rideshare rally for NFB in San Francisco, we've been fed up with that. So we took it to the headquarters of Uber and Lyft. And so I'm going to let Amelia kind of talk about some of the specific experiences. But the main issue we want to tackle more or less is the discrimination faced by them and just how upset we are. NFB's been in talks with NFB has been in talks with Uber and Lyft for years, and besides the policy prohibit. They make a lot of empty promises. They prohibit the denials, but it still happens, and everyone is still being influenced by this. So I'm going to let Amelia talk about some of the experiences we had while we were there.
Well, actually, I'm going to talk about a few denials we've had. Okay. So one, we were in Nebraska, actually, and we got a very unhappy guy, but he eventually relented and took us, but then he just dropped us off in the literal middle of nowhere. And he just was like, get out of my car. And I mean, we were with a few friends, and she reported him, but I mean, she was on the chat with the person from Lyft or whatever for probably 2 days trying to resolve this. And they pretty much were just like, oh, here's some money in your account kind of thing. And yeah, we'll talk to this guy, but obviously that doesn't do anything. While we were in San Francisco, we had a denial, and the guy was just like, I just got my car done, or just vacuum kind of thing. I'm not taking your dogs. They shed too much, blah, blah, blah. And then I ended up having to be on the phone with Uber for 45 minutes. And I mean, again, nothing happened because she asked me just random questions that had nothing to do with the situation we were at. And I mean, again, it was just like, well, I'm sorry you had this experience, but there's nothing we can really do, blah, blah, blah. And even the guy actually was saying I've denied dogs all the time, and I've never had any repercussions from this, and that kind of stuff. It's really frustrating. We were actually trying to get into an Uber one day, and the guy started moving his car we're both halfway in the car. And so it's frustrating, it's scary, because I mean, obviously that puts our safety into jeopardy. And yeah, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, also to mention, what you said with the driver, they really, I think, don't have any repercussions overall, and they feel free to, I guess, deny us. But I lost my train of thought just now. What else was I gonna say? I have a little notes just for the situation. 1 second, guys.
I have to say, it was very fitting that we had the rally on October 15th, which is White Cane Awareness Day, because obviously this is a huge thing that we need to bring awareness to. We're tired of denials. We deserve to ride with our dogs or canes and have no issue.
So we had a really great attendance overall too. I don't know the exact numbers. We kind of estimate about 150 and at least 100 with guide dogs, and it was really well done because I was kind of afraid, we're gonna have a lot of misbehaved dogs. You hear horror stories at convention, things happening, but no, it was every dog was really well behaved, and I think we represented pretty well, and we had great news coverage. I know ABC News, and I can't actually think of any other news, but you can find out all the news coverage by Googling it, and also the hashtag Ride to Ride. And if you have any other stories you want to share, posting it with the hashtag Ride to Ride. Still really great to do right now, and even reaching out to your local news outlets and sharing any stories you have. Whether it's missing important appointments or meetings you have, there's just so many situations out there. Be good to let your news know about. And do you want to say anything else, Taylor? Okay. We didn't practice this, so I think we're supposed to talk for 20 minutes, but that's about all we have to say. If like anyone has any questions, because I'm sure there's something I forgot, comments or anything.
Mary's gonna take over.
I'm like, I need some sex too. Okay, here's Cindy.
Hey,
Could you talk a little bit about, I know we of us have talked about it, but could you talk a little bit about what Uber and Lyft are doing to address it with the self-identification, and maybe about like why a lot of us are planning on doing that?
So after the rideshare rally, it may have been during it too, but Uber came out as their sort of solution, quote unquote, I guess you could say, and that's to implement a pilot program where you can self-identify that you have, service animal, you're blind, and all that kind of stuff beforehand, which it does something. I don't know if it really resolves the issue, but it does something. Here. You don't get a cancellation fee if the driver cancels on you. Well, every time I've had it, what they usually do is automatically reassign somebody. But again, that takes up a lot of time every time that happens. Recently, Amelia and I were getting a text and for our wedding, and we went through 3 different drivers before we got home. So it was getting late. Was there some other questions? I don't know if I completely answered all that.
Yeah, this is Kathy. I had one. In previous years, I have been on protests with NFB. We used to do NAP tracking, and NAP was an accreditation agency. And we protested at their annual meeting one year, and they were literally at the windows watching us protest, walking up and down the street. Did you have any sort of reaction like that from Uber and Lyft out in San Francisco?
So I know we've had like people going into work were kind of like would say like stop and take pictures or like kind of ask questions, but I don't think we really had any say important people come out or really talk kind of thing.
We did have Rick Bono did send in a few of our protesting signs, and I don't know to Uber. I don't know if it was a high-ranking person, but took them in, supposedly put them upstairs, let everyone see them. And I think they did have some engagement with them, but nothing super noteworthy. We did have good public outpour. We had people honking as they're driving by and that sort of thing.
Say the police were very helpful. They were very nice, very accommodating to us actually. When we went to Lyft, they blocked off half the road so we could do the marching back and forth kind of thing, so we could do it in a smoother way. We didn't really talk about, I guess, what it was like being there. So like everyone has these, big picket signs that say, like right to ride or don't deny us kind of thing. And then we had people give testimonies and talk about like their experience with ride denials. And then we had, chanting kind of thing. And then marching obviously back and forth, which was a little hard, but
Was there any more questions actually?
Oh, okay. I've seen a couple hands go up.
I've debated before about getting a guide dog eventually. I'm trying to get really used to using the cane right now. I've been blind for about a year now. But I've actually been discouraged by a few people about getting a guide dog because of reasons like this. And is there any other situations that you've felt like your dog wasn't accepted or anything that caused issues besides transportation or reasons why I should stick with my cane? No offense to the guide dogs, but I'm trying to outweigh the options. I really am. And if this is like increasingly getting harder, that obviously is going to affect my decision.
So that could be a really long answer. And I totally, we'll talk to you afterwards too, if you like. But there's, I guess, the whole cane versus guide dog and stuff like that. We have some issues. We've honestly not had that many like restaurants and stuff like that. So really Uber and Lyft is our main time we have problems with like denials and stuff like that. Planes and stuff, you have issues with like whether you fit your dog in under the seat and stuff. But honestly, Uber and Lyft and Amelia's taking the mic from me right now.
I do want to also point out that, it's not just guide dogs. People with canes also are getting denied. So it's a huge issue in all accounts.
Yes. What's their objection to canes?
I don't know the answer to that, but it's more blindness in general. Low expectations, as a rep would say.
I have a question. I have two questions. The first one is, have you faced, Uber and Lyft, they shouldn't be doing that. I'm wondering if it's hard for Uber and Lyft to kind of rein it in with the drivers because they're independent contractors and not. And so I was wondering, I'm just curious if anybody in the room, like when you've taken a taxi where maybe it's more of an employee situation, have you faced the same thing? I'm just curious about that. Okay, same thing. And I was wondering if, oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
Were you saying whether it's like taxi, whether like we have the same issue with like taxi versus with Uber? Was that?
Yeah, I was just kind of curious because I feel like sometimes taxi companies, the people are employees versus these independent contractors. That's why it could be hard. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just wondering if you face the same thing,
Yeah,
like maybe when you try to hail a taxi or something from the street.
Yeah, I think it's across the board, and also something else to note with like when we took Uber, for example, they're supposed to have had like a policy where you can, whenever you call in or report somebody that where you've been denied, that they can actually say who that is. But what will happen a lot of time is when we're in San Francisco and we got a Uber who denied us, we didn't take a screenshot. So when the ride did not officially start, he got there, we got in the car, and then he said, no, we won't take you. So then he canceled the ride. That person now basically a ghost in the ecosystem of Uber, and they're supposed to be able to see that, but they claim they can't. So we couldn't even report that person after 45 minutes. So yeah, because we didn't have a screenshot that showed their license plate number and name. Like, well, he had their name, but not the license plate number. So that's kind of the situation.
Yeah. I was wondering if
when you guys went to this rally, if there was any talk of, obviously Lyft and Uber make, I don't even know if it's over, but hundreds of millions of dollars. I feel like, and I'm a sighted person, and I actually have driven Uber and Lyft. I've driven Uber in Louisville, and I wonder if there was any talk. I feel like Uber and Lyft, a possible solution is they need to put together like a pot of money where this wouldn't solve the cane situation, but with the dogs, if one of the big objections is the shedding of a dog, and not all dogs shed, obviously, but I have a golden retriever and she sheds a lot. And if she gets in my car, her hair will be everywhere. And as somebody who has driven for Uber, and also I rent my car on Turo, and I understand on one side the shedding, but then for something where it's helping somebody who needs their guide dog, they should allow the dogs, obviously. And so I wonder if there was any talk about Uber and Lyft, who makes hundreds of millions of dollars, even off these drivers, who are they're not paying for their gas or their maintenance or cleaning of the car. And I feel like Uber and Lyft should offer, if a guide dog comes in and there's some shedding, then Uber and Lyft should pay the driver to clean the car. That's what they do if somebody vomits. That's what they do if somebody smokes in the car. If I rent for example, if somebody were to bring a dog that's not a guide dog, like Turo, I rent my car on Turo. It's like the Airbnb for car rentals. If somebody brings a pet that's not a service pet and then it sheds, I will actually get paid by Turo. I just have to snap my photos and they'll pay for the car to be cleaned. So I wondered if there was any talk of that. They certainly have the money where they could set aside a pot where, to kind of help with that. I wondered if drivers, hey, if this happens, then we'll pay to, clean up the shedding of the car. I just wondered if that was an option.
That I know of, that isn't an option. That's not something I know of that's been discussed. But typically, what we kind of say the difference between like pet and guide dog, whatever. Guide dog is still going to shed and stuff, but we're not guide dogs, trained dogs aren't jumping all their seats. So if they're going to set in the floor at your feet and not make generally a mess. But also, what I would say with that is, for Uber drivers and things, you're not going to wear your nicest pair of pants to work. So it's kind of the same with your car. If you're worried about getting something on your seats and stuff, like the drivers can put down like a different, like a cover or something on the seats. And if dog vomits and leaves a mess like that is something I think on the rider you would have to pay for. But shedding is pretty minimal for just sitting underneath your feet in the car. Yeah.
Question? Yeah.
Going in and out. Okay. I just had a quick comment about guide dog versus cane. I think it's more of a blindness issue. Laura and I were going to go to lunch. We were with Kathy, and we thought that the driver was coming to pick us up. We were standing outside in the driveway. She used our driveway as a turnabout to deny the ride. So we didn't have a dog. We had our canes out. So I think that's just something to be cognizant of.
Lonnie? Yeah, this will be the last question.
Thank you. Do we know approximately how many denials we have that's been reported to NFB? And another quick question, do you see self-identifying as a possible harmful situation?
I won't say I'm necessarily an expert in answering all of that, because there's a lot that goes into that, but it could. I feel like there's just too many people that have mixed opinions about whether that could be helpful or not. I don't know if I want to answer that question. Yeah. Oh, I don't know what I just said. She said I said something wrong. I probably did. The numbers though, oh, Amelia's making fun of me up here. She says I'm just rambling. I do. But anyway, there are, you can report it through Uber and through NFB ride denials, and also through I'm blanking. Here you go. Okay. Yeah, U.S. Department of Justice. That's the word I was looking for. Yes, that's sure. Yeah.
Okay. This might sound radical, and maybe it is, but I don't. From my perspective, it's not. What if you had to identify your race before your driver could decide whether they were going to take you? And if they decided they didn't want to have Black people riding their car, or they didn't want to have Asian people or Hispanics, would that be harmful?
Real quick, it's Kathy. You know, one thing that we're facing, not that it's right, but I don't know exactly how you solve it. A lot of this is cultural. There are religious beliefs about your dogs. And well, but yeah, well, it's true. They don't understand blindness, so they are afraid of us. But, you know, oftentimes one's religious beliefs prevent them from wanting to take the dog. And I respect their right to believe what they believe. But then on the other hand, I'm thinking, well, if you have taken a job that demands that you transport the public, then you need to do your job.
Exactly. That's a good place to end. People need to do their jobs. Thank you, Jacob and Amelia, for sharing about the rally. Hear that everybody's fancy. I promise. It's almost lunchtime. Before you break, Sandra, do you want to do one more door prize? Okay, awesome. Before you call that out, I wanted to let everybody know the situation for lunch. So lunch is at the very back of the room. I am facing the back of the room. So behind you is a long table along the back wall. When you get back there, please give, people are set up back there. I do believe Ashley is back there. Please give Ashley your lunch ticket. If you bought a lunch with your registration, your ticket will have a Braille S on it for Saturday. Yeah, I know, creative, right? So give your ticket, and then your options for lunch are chicken salad, ham, turkey, or veggie. The veggies are reserved for those who specifically requested a vegetarian lunch. So if you do not request one, please do not take someone else's lunch. There's also chips, and I do believe there is nachos and salsa left over from last night's event. There's cupcakes left over as well. There is also quesadillas. Unfortunately, I don't know how to heat them up here, but so they'll be cold. But if you want cold quesadillas too, they'll be back there. And I do believe there's also some 2 liters on the
There's very little food.
thank you. On the dessert thing where the cupcakes and stuff were last night, there's 2 liters left over from the parents' event. And as always, there is water in the coolers along my right hand side, your left, of this room. All right, guys. Door prize launcher.
Either, let's say neighbors.
Nope. That's Bradley's mom. They're at the hospital.
Michelle Miller, that said that one is.
Come on, people.
I'll take it up. Oh my goodness. And no, I did not rig this. I'm gonna promise you, I didn't, okay? Okay.
Right, if you have
Mr. Brock?
so we have.
Christie, yes. Okay, all right, so Pamela, let's
Over here.
something. All right.
You want to make sure you all get these.
Ooh.
$10.
In the center of the Yes, right here.
Nice. All right. We stand adjourned until 2 o'clock. Is that correct? Yes, 2 o'clock.
If you have